Chapter 250. Recommended reading. How is it so fast? The three were shocked when they saw the system notification. They quickly targeted the gnome leader who was flying in the air. They had thought that Unity Alliance would be able to hold off Berserk Heavenly Wrath for a while, but it seemed that Unity Alliance was still lacking compared to Berserk Heavenly Wrath. Now that there was only one boss left, they could not let their efforts go to waste. Wang Yu disliked agility-based bosses the most. Moreover, it was difficult for a Grandmaster of Combat to deal with a boss in the sky. Although the Gnome Chieftain only had 100,000 HP, its maneuverability was simply too high. Bright City and Spring Grace had no way of catching up to it. Just think about it. How could a non-agility-based class like Mages and Warlocks possibly keep up with the Gnome Chieftain's speed? Moreover, the Gnome Leader was an agility-based boss that attacked from above. Its attack range was over 1,000 yards. Unless the Gnome Leader was in a diving state, Bright Doe and Spring Source skills would not be able to reach the Gnome Leader. Fortunately, the conference room was not big. Otherwise, no one would be able to stop the Gnome Leader if it wanted to leave. When they killed the Dwarf King, the three discovered that there was a condition for the Gnome Leader to dive. Every time the Gnome Leader dived, it would summon 6 mechanical warriors. It would only dive again when all the mechanical warriors were destroyed. As such, the three could only avoid the Gnome Leader's harassment in the sky and control the mechanical warriors. These mechanical warriors had thick skin and flesh. Mingdu and Chun Xiang's 3 AoE skills were still able to withstand them. No matter how strong Wang Yu was, a Grandmaster of Combat could not use AoE skills. After the three killed 2 mechanical warriors, the door to the conference room opened and a group of Berserk Heavenly Wrath players rushed in. The leader of this party of players was Berserk Heavenly Punishment's second-in-command. His name was Berserk Thunder Emperor. Just from his name, one could tell that Berserk Thunder Emperor was a good friend of Berserk Thunder God in real life. As a trusted aide of the guild leader, this person enjoyed the best resources in the guild. His strength was not much weaker than Berserk Thunderheart. Berserk Heavenly Wrath was scared out of his wits when he saw the scene in the conference room. Ignore the Grandmaster of Combat, hurry up and stop the Warlock and the Magician, the Berserk Thunder Emperor commanded, and the Berserk Heavenly Punishments party quickly formed a formation and rushed towards the 3 people fighting the boss. The 3 of them were spread out. Since Grandmasters of Combat had short arms, they weren't much of a threat to this boss. Moreover, Grandmasters of Combat weren't very useful in team battles, so Heavenly Punishment Berserk split into 2 teams. One team rushed towards Mingdu, while the other rushed towards Chun Xiang. Seeing Tian Fa's people rush over, Chun Xiang took a step back. He freed up his hands and summoned 6 evil demons to stand in a row, blocking everyone. Mingdu threw a hellfire at the intersection, and the Berserk Sky Law members were forced to retreat. Summoning is an AoE spell, everyone, don't charge. Seeing Mingdu and Chun Xiang's methods, the Berserk Tian Fa people quickly calmed down. Of these 2, one knew crowd control, the other knew AoE spells, and there were 6 evil demons acting as meat shield. When these 2 teamed up, they could control, attack, and even resist. There were stairs in Iron Rock Castle's conference room. At this moment, Chuanjin's group of 3 were standing at a relatively high position. If they were to really fight, they wouldn't have the advantage. Of course, this didn't mean that Heavenly Punishment's magicians were trash, but rather that Heavenly Punishment's members were all elite experts. They also had the pride of an expert. With 40 against 3, if they couldn't wipe the team without taking any damage, they wouldn't have the advantage. We'll attract their firepower. Thieves, go into stealth and stab them to death. Berserk Heavenly Wrath thought for a moment, then said to everyone in the guild channel. Currently, magicians only had around 800 HP, cloth armor classes didn't have high HP growth, and warlocks who put their points into constitution only had 1600 HP. Thieves were the nightmare of squishy classes. When their combo burst out, it would at least be around 1500 HP. with 6 thieves stabbing 2 cloth armor classes to death. No matter how you looked at it, it was absolutely safe. Okay. After receiving the order, the thief quickly went into stealth. As usual, the others rushed in front of Mingdu and Chun Xiang. 6 shield bearers, 20 magicians, 4 warlocks and 4 priests? Isn't that 40 people? Chun Xiang was very sensitive to numbers. With a quick glance, he immediately noticed that Heavenly Punishment's team was missing 6 people. They're here. Wang Yu, who was not far away, shot in front of Mingdu and Chun Xiang, his staff blocking the way. Heavenly Punishment's players were still puzzled. What the hell was this kid doing? They saw Wang Yu's hand shake and his staff swing out, revealing the 6 assassins. Everyone was shocked when they saw this, and they all turned to look at Wang Yu. Damn, he's an expert that knows how to use stealth. The 6 assassins were confident in their numbers. Even without stealth, they weren't afraid of Wang Yu. They brandished their daggers and attacked Wang Yu. Hurry up and come back, don't get controlled by the warlock. The 6 assassins were currently in Chun Xiang's attack range. As long as Chun Xiang used distortion, the 6 of them would definitely be frozen. If Mingdu used an AoE spell, they would definitely be finished. It had to be known that thieves didn't have a lot of HP. However, Chun Xiang and Mingdu acted as if they didn't see it and turned around, continuing to attack the mech warriors. Seeing that the 2 of them didn't care about Wang Yu, Heavenly Punishment happily said, "These 2 don't seem to have any strategic sense." Before Heavenly Punishment could finish speaking, the remaining half of his words were stuffed back into his mouth. Facing the attacks of the 6 assassins, Wang Yu didn't dodge. He reached out with both hands, one on the left and one on the right, grabbing the throats of 2 of them. He then swung his arms and used Ferocious Tiger Strike, throwing the 2 of them onto the other 4. The 6 of them crashed into each other and were smashed into a ball. Following that, Wang Yu jumped up and landed with Thunder Stomp. Boom! In less than 5 seconds, the 6 thieves had passed away. Damn it, it's Nian Luyun. Seeing this scene, Heavenly Punishment's people's hair stood on end. The members of the Berserk Guild had seen Mingdu in Rain's disguise, so they knew that the 3 players in front of them were actually NPCs. Hence, they had been trying to figure out which expert had dared to provoke the Berserk Guild again and again. Now that they saw Wang Yu kill 6 thieves in a matter of minutes, they immediately thought of Thunderstorm City's #1 expert. In Thunderstorm City, Nian Luyun was a legend. It was said that this Grandmaster of Combat was like a cheat, fighting 20 people at once without any difficulty. Initially, Berserk Thunder Emperor and the others had always thought that someone was exaggerating, but after witnessing it today, Berserk Thunder Emperor realized that this Grandmaster of Combat was even more insane than the rumors made him out to be. Not only was it easy for this guy to take on 20 people, but even if 40 people stood together, he would not feel safe at all. While he was distracted, Wang Yu had already rushed to the front of the team. Heavenly Punishment's people were shocked and hurriedly sent a message in the guild channel. Thunder God, come back quickly, Nian Luyun is attacking us, we can't stop him. P.S. I'm going to have a meal, I've been so troubled recently, I've stopped updating once, so my subscriptions have decreased quite a bit. Everyone, please subscribe more and give me a tip, hehehe. To be continued. At this time, the spells of the mages were flying towards him. Wang Yu descended with eagle step. When he was half a meter above the ground, a long staff suddenly appeared in Wang Yu's hand. He used it as a support and flew close to the ground into the mage formation. Fuck me, fuck me. The Berserk Tian FA team was in complete disarray. He couldn't even hit the target. Did he really not have a cheat code? When a mage was approached, their first reaction would naturally be to retreat. However, when it came to Wang Yu, they didn't even have the chance to retreat. The shadow of Wang Yu's staff danced in the air, twisting and dragging, twisting left and right. The staff in his hand was like a dragon, leaving no survivors wherever it went. The mages only saw a black shadow before it appeared at the resurrection point of the guild. The mages who were killed by Wang Yu were shocked and puzzled. I've never heard of Nian Luyun using a staff. At this time, Mingdu and Chun Xiang had already wiped out the mech warriors. The gnome leader in the sky let out a strange cry and dove down. Wang, the moment the gnome leader flew above the two, Mingdu stabbed his face with a thunder spear. The thunder spear had a knockback effect. When the gnome leader was hit, the entire aircraft shook and suddenly fell. At the same time, Chun Xiang's distortion barrier appeared, and the aircraft crashed into it. Boom! The plane that was moving at high speed crashed into the barrier and exploded. The gnome leader bounced out of his seat at the critical moment. Damn, this is godly prediction. Seeing this scene, the Berserk Thunder Emperor's eyeballs almost popped out. The strength of Nian Luyun was not a secret in Thunderstorm City, so the Berserk Thunder Emperor was prepared. However, the strength displayed by Ming Do and Chun Xiang caused the Berserk Thunder Emperor to be a little overwhelmed. The gnome leader's flying speed was very fast, and when it dove, its speed doubled. The Thunder Spear in Mingdu's hands was clearly a non-directional skill. For a non-directional skill to be able to accurately hit the high-speed gnome leader, his prediction ability was truly terrifying. What made the Berserk Thunder Emperor's hair stand on end was that the trajectory of the gnome leader's aircraft had clearly changed after being hit by Mingdu, but it did not deviate and hit Chun Xiang's distortion barrier. The distortion barrier had a prerequisite skill. Could it be that the warlock had already calculated the trajectory of the aircraft after being hit? If that was the case, then this fellow's calculation ability was simply out of this world. Apart from Nian Luyun, when did the Unity Alliance have two such godly people? The more the Berserk Thunder Emperor thought about it, the more shocked he became. The revival point was just at the entrance. At this time, the people that had been killed by Wang Yu had returned to the battle. With his staff in hand, Wang Yu was like a single man holding the pass against 10,000 enemies. He blocked all the Berserk Sky Law members outside of his control circle. Chun Xiang and Mingdu fought while controlling the gnome leader, trapping the gnome leader in a corner. After losing the aircraft, the gnome leader was completely useless in other aspects other than having 100,000 HP. It was an agile boss, and its movement speed was even slower than the two mages. The gnome leader, who was trapped in a corner by the two of them, was only able to deal with the two of them by relying on his mechanical warriors. However, under Chun Xiang's control, the slow-moving mechanical warriors were not of much use. Ming Do cast a lightning spell from the left and an arcane impact from the right, beating the gnome leader to the brink of death. While Mingdu was happily fighting, the Berserk Thunder Emperor's players saw that the last boss was about to die and became anxious. Each of them seemed to have gone mad as they charged forward with all their might. After all, there were 40 people, and the revival point was so close. With everyone charging forward without any regard for their lives, Wang Yu was unable to deal with them all. While Wang Yu was fighting the shield warrior, a few assassins appeared behind Mingdu in stealth. "Old Li, be careful!" Spring Xiang shouted. He tossed out a ball of poison mist that slowed down the assassin closest to Radiant City. Hearing this, Mingdu didn't even turn his head as he swapped places with the gnome leader with a wave of his staff. At this time, the 6 assassins' backstab had already arrived, stabbing the gnome leader's body. "You despicable bastards!" The gnome leader, who had already been beaten to a critical state by Mingdu, cursed unwillingly and fell to the ground. After the gnome leader died, the mech warriors also fell to the ground as if their electricity had been cut off. Mingdu laughed and said, "Haha, I couldn't tell that you guys were even more ruthless than me. You guys did it on purpose. F***ck your mother." The 6 assassins' eyes turned red when they saw the gnome leader die. They grabbed their daggers and used swift movement to charge at Mingdu. Chapter 252. Ironrock Castle was a special stronghold setting. When Berserk Heavenly Wrath took Ironrock Castle as their base, they were tasked with sealing these 3 bosses. If these 3 bosses were killed, they would respawn. In that case, the seal would be ineffective and Berserk Heavenly Wrath's base would likely be taken back by the system. These 3 bosses were Ironrock Castle's weakness. If these 3 bosses were killed, they would respawn. In that case, the seal would be ineffective and Berserk Heavenly Wrath's base would likely be taken back by the system. So, these 3 bosses were Ironrock Castle's weakness. For Wang Yu's group to kill these 3 bosses was no different from killing them. It was no wonder that these 6 thieves would act so crazily. The gnome leader had died by their hands. If the guild was destroyed because of this, even if the 6 of them had been tricked by Mingdu, they would still be labeled as sinners for all eternity. At this moment, the 6 thieves' hatred for Mingdu couldn't be expressed in words. They could only resort to violence. Facing the charging assassins, Mingdu didn't panic. Just as the assassins were about to stab Mingdu, Chun Xiang's distortion barrier enveloped Mingdu. The 6 assassins were frozen on the spot. Mingdu's hellfire ignited on the ground at the same time. The dancing tongues of flame instantly engulfed the 6 assassins. However, at this moment, the number on the top right corner of the screen showing the number of enemy players jumped from 40 to 467. Fuck! Seeing the increase in enemy players, Chun Xiang and Mingdu jumped in fright. They immediately shouted in the chat, "Iron Ox, head for the door. Their people are coming." Chun Xiang moved the 6 demons to Wang Yu's side, blocking Berserk Heavenly Wrath's group. Under the cover of Mingdu's spells, Wang Yu took the opportunity to charge forward. Mingdu and Chun Xiang followed behind Wang Yu. They were about to reach the door. At this moment, the door to the meeting hall opened once more. A dense crowd of people blocked the main entrance of the meeting hall. Wang Yu blocked everyone's attacks with his long staff and led Mingdu and Chun Xiang to hide behind a large pillar at the entrance of the meeting hall. In front of the pillar was a flight of stairs. The 3 of them staggered the terrain so that the people below would not be able to rush up for a while. However, with so many people blocking the way, the 3 of them could only dream of moving forward. "You won't be able to escape." Seeing that reinforcements had arrived, the Berserk Thunder Emperor laughed loudly. "Everyone retreat. Block the entrance. Don't let them escape." Just now, when the gnome leader had died, Heavenly Punishments players had received a quest notification. As long as they killed Wang Yu's group of 3 and obtained the sealed items, their guild could still be saved. Chapter 255. The Genius 1 Second Remember Network, providing you with exciting novels to read. The fighter was Nian Luyun. Wang Yu knew the person who had shouted. It was Thunderheart, who had been killed by Wang Yu once. Wang Yu and the other 2 were quite confused. Weren't they looking for them? Why were they looking for Nian Luyun? Nian Luyun was even more confused. Wasn't the fight over? Why was he still so relentless? If you have something to say, say it. Don't swear. Nian Luyun turned around and stared at Thunder God, his expression calm. "Fuck you." The Berserk Heavenly Wrath players were all furious. At this time, when their enemies met, no one would argue back. As soon as thought Luyun finished speaking, the 2 warriors behind the Berserk Thunder God charged forward. Nian Luyun got up and dodged the 2 warriors' attacks. He bent his elbow and struck one of them in the face. At the same time, he raised his knee and struck the other in the abdomen. The 2 warriors immediately lost the ability to fight. Nian Luyun's attacks were accurate and ruthless. It was painful to look at. "Hiss, is this Nian Luyun?" Thunder God asked Thunderheart with a cold breath. This was the first time Thunder God had seen Nian Luyun's true colors. Back at the guild residence, Nian Luyun had only revealed a means of escape before Thunder God. Thunder God had been completely unaware of Nian Luyun's attack methods. Now that he had seen Nian Luyun in person, Thunder God realized that Nian Luyun's reputation was well-deserved. "That's right, it's him," Thunderheart said. "I remember his moves clearly." Nian Luyun also recognized Thunderheart as someone he had killed before. He couldn't help but laugh. Not bad, not bad. You remember my moves after I killed you once. You have some talent. Wang Yu mocked in the guild channel. Talent my ass. When I killed this kid, I purposely showed him. Thunderheart said angrily, You clearly killed me twice. Really? Nian Luyun paused. I don't remember. Speaking of which, isn't the guild war over? Why are you looking for me? Hearing Nian Luyun's words, Tian Fa's people were also confused. They thought to themselves, is this kid really stupid or is he pretending to be stupid? Did he forget the bad things he did so quickly? Berserk Thunder God was stunned for a moment before he stood up and said, I am Berserk Thunder God, the leader of Berserk Heavenly Wrath. I have long heard of Nian Luyun's great name, and it is my honor to meet you today. When Heavenly Wrath's members heard this, they felt a chill run down their spines. Motherf *Ker, their guild had already been destroyed by someone, and he was still feeling honored? Was this guy's brain crushed by a door? *CK, this bootlicking. What does Berserk Thunder God do in real life? When Ming Do heard Berserk Thunder God's words, he almost laughed out loud. This dialogue was like a second-rate romance drama from the last century. It was embarrassing. Chun Xiang whispered, You must be a novelist. It's so sour that my teeth are about to fall off. Not at all, not at all. Clearly, Nian Luyun was unable to endure Thunder God Berserk's touch. Thunder God continued, I'm a person who admires experts like you. If you're willing to hand over your other two helpers, we can let bygones be bygones for what you've done to our guild. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Thunder God really didn't want to provoke Nian Luyun. After all, this guy was the #1 expert. If he could rope him in, he definitely wouldn't make an enemy out of him. Especially after seeing Nian Luyun's methods of insta-killing 2 warriors, Thunder God was even more certain of his decision. Those who could follow behind Thunder God Berserk were naturally core members. In terms of combat strength, they were not the slightest bit weaker than Thunder God Berserk. Nian Luyun had actually insta-killed 2 of them. His attack power was simply outrageous. Moreover, Thunder God Berserk had seen Nian Luyun's ability to leap onto roofs and vault over walls today. Such an expert gave Thunder God a deep sense of fear. As the saying goes, don't be afraid of thieves, but be afraid of thieves remembering. Life in the game wasn't worth much. If he was really remembered by such a person, Thunder God Berserk felt a chill down his spine. Since that was the case, he might as well find the other 2 people to be his scapegoats. Although those 2 people were strong, they didn't have the ability to fly. Besides, those 2 people had killed many more people than Thought-Flowing Cloud had. He believed that the brothers in the guild would be happy to use them as scapegoats. It couldn't be helped. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong was even more vivid in the game. Helpers? What did I do? Nian Luyun was dumbfounded. He couldn't understand Thunder God Berserk's words at all. Nian Luyun's blank expression made Thunder God very unhappy. Was his guild so worthless in Nian Luyun's eyes? Just now, what you did with a warlock and a sorcerer. Thunder God Berserk reminded her indirectly. It was a matter of pride, so Thunder God Berserk was too embarrassed to say things like, You caused our guild to drop a level. Nian Luyun was still confused. However, the 3 instigators who were watching from the side instantly understood. Thunder God Berserk had thought that Wang Yu was Nian Luyun. Chun Xiang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Let's go. Our combination is too conspicuous. If we stay here any longer, something will definitely happen. With that, Wang Yu and the other 2 quietly squeezed out of the tavern. A fighter, a sorcerer, and a warlock combination? Nian Luyun asked curiously. The most common combination in the game was warrior, sorcerer, priest, and warlock. There was almost no combination like fighter, healer, or tank. That's right. Thunder God Berserk nodded. That was the combination standing next to you just now. Didn't you notice? Nian Luyun pointed at the position where Wang Yu and the other 2 were fighting just now. Thunder God Berserk, Did you notice the three people standing next to me just now? Thunder God Berserk pointed at the position where Wang Yu and the other two were fighting. Thunder God Berserk, did you notice the three people standing next to me just now? Thunder God Berserk asked Thunderheart with some uncertainty. No, I've been paying attention to Nian Luyun, Thunderheart said. The others also agreed. They were all here for Nian Luyun, so why would they care who was standing next to him? Just as Thunder God Berserk was doubting Nian Luyun's words, he suddenly heard someone shouting from outside the door. Brother Luyun, don't be afraid. I'm watching the fish underwater. Stall for time. We'll go in and save you after we've dealt with the outside. F***ck, we've been fooled. Thunder God Berserk was furious. He no longer cared about being afraid. He took the lead and threw a lightning spell at Nian Luyun. After Nian Luyun dodged to the side, he was just about to rush out of the door when the others threw their skills at him. The space in the tavern was quite narrow. There was not much space to dodge. Moreover, Thunder God Berserk's people had a taste of Wang Yu's power, so they came prepared this time. Their firepower covered all directions. Nian Luyun did not have a psychic shield to protect him. Before he could run more than a few steps, he was hit by the spells that filled the sky and turned into white light. Chapter 256. Genius in 1 second. Remember Net, providing you with exciting novels to read. After dealing with Nian Luyun, Thunder God Berserk led the group out of the tavern. Outside the tavern, it was a peaceful scene, no signs of battle. Where are the people from Heart Alliance? Thunder God Berserk asked. The group outside the tavern replied, only 2 or 3, we chased them away. F***ck, hearing everyone's words, Thunder God Berserk suddenly understood. We've been tricked. What's going on? Everyone looked at Thunder God Berserk, not understanding why he would say that. Thunder God Berserk said, the 3 people who stole the Book of Sealing from Ironrock Fortress shouldn't be from Heart Alliance. That can't be. Do we have an expert like Nian Luyun here? The group asked doubtfully. Nian Luyun was a monster, just one of them was enough to make them complain. If there was another, they might as well delete their accounts and play Grandmaster of Combat. We don't have them here, what about other places? Anywhere else? Yes. Heart of Thunder suddenly said, do you guys know of Yu Huiqing in District 7? Could Yu Huiqing be Iron Ox? The group came to a sudden realization. As experts, showing off in the game was not enough to satisfy them, so they often went to the forums to show off their superiority. Naturally, they had seen those menstrual pads. Thunder God Berserk said, it's very likely that the warlock knows summoning. As far as I know, there's only one person in the entire server who knows Summon Imp. There's also AoE spells. At this stage, one of the known AoE spell experts is related to Iron Ox. Also, do you guys know why Heart Alliance started a fight with us? Thunder God Berserk asked. Didn't Thunder kill the people from Heart Alliance? Someone pointed at Heart of Thunder God. Thunder God Berserk said, no, although Thunder likes to kill, he doesn't like to cause trouble for the guild. He told me from the start that the people he killed were just a few unspecialized players. Then doesn't that mean someone is behind this? That's right, the mage who stole the Book of Sealing seems to be a Thunder Mage. There's a Thunder Mage and a Grandmaster of Combat. Isn't it obvious that both guilds were killed at the same time? We've been tricked. Thunder God Berserker had only just figured out that he had been tricked. Who knew that after exploring step by step, he would discover that he had been led into a trap from the very beginning. From provoking a conflict, the 2 guilds started to fight. Then, the 3 of them took advantage of the situation to steal the Book of Sealing. If the 3 of them had not given themselves away in the tavern before they left, the 2 guilds would have fought each other to the death without knowing the reason behind it. Thinking of this, the Thunder God broke out in a cold sweat. He couldn't believe that he would encounter such a dirty trick while playing a game. How could Berserk Thunder endure this? At the same time, Wang Yu and the other 2 had already left the tavern street. Chun Xiang pointed at Mingdu and said, Old Li, I think your superfluous words just now were a little inappropriate. Didn't you say that they would suspect us? That's why I asked them to kill Nian Luyun to stir up conflict. Mingdu said indignantly. Chun Xiang sighed. If they can't find us, they definitely won't choose to believe Nian Luyun. You, on the other hand, with that shout, Nian Luyun is dead, but when they come out and can't find him, we'll be exposed. Then what should we do? Mingdu asked with a guilty expression. Wang Yu laughed. They don't know who we are anyway, what's there to be afraid of? Are you sure they can't guess who you are? Chun Xiang and Mingdu stared at Wang Yu and asked. A grandmaster of combat like Wang Yu could be counted with one's fingers. How could they not guess? Wang Yu said plainly, Brother, the reason why I said that is because you guys are afraid. Do you think I'll be afraid? F***ck, we're not afraid. Mingdu and Chun Xiang pointed their middle fingers at Wang Yu. This kid was getting more and more annoying. On the other hand, Nian Luyun was not someone who could be easily dealt with. 8 extremities fist was a strong external fist technique. Without the suppression of internal heart techniques, the murderous intent would be very strong. Nian Luyun was in the prime of his youth. After being killed by Heavenly Punishment Berserk for no reason, it was only natural that he wanted to get back at them. This search caused the players of Heavenly Punishment Berserk to suffer. In less than half an hour, Nian Luyun had killed dozens of people. The players of Heavenly Punishment Berserk were so frightened that they hid in the safe zone, not even daring to go out on the street. Just as Nian Luyun was slaughtering the players of Heavenly Punishment Berserk, Catcher Underwater suddenly sent Nian Luyun a message. Luyun, what are you doing? Revenge. Nian Luyun's reply was simple. Come to the tavern, I have something to tell you. Catcher Underwater said. Okay. Catcher Underwater was the boss after all, and Nian Luyun had to give him face. When he arrived at the tavern, Nian Luyun's anger was ignited again. Old fish, what do you mean by this? Nian Luyun pointed at Thunder God, who was opposite Catcher Underwater. Catcher Underwater hurriedly explained, Luyun, Thunder God told me what happened just now. It's just a misunderstanding. Humph. You want to kill me before you tell me it's a misunderstanding? Nian Luyun did not buy it and raised his hand to finish off Thunder God. Thunder God was shocked and said, God Luyun, it really is a misunderstanding. If you kill me, we'll both die without knowing why. Nian Luyun put down his fist and looked at Thunder God. Oh, then tell me, how did you misunderstand? Chapter 257. Reeks. Out of Wang Yu's trio, only Mingdu's mission was to be handed in at Thunderstorm City, the other two had to return by airship. When Wang Yu returned to Yuhuiqing, it was already late, so Wang Yu hurriedly went offline without handing in his mission. Wang Yu took off his helmet, and just as he was about to stretch, he found Mu Zixian sleeping soundly beside him. There was a note on the table beside the bed. Hubby, dinner is in the thermos, remember to eat. The words were beautiful, and there was care in between the lines, making Wang Yu feel a wave of warmth. Wang Yu smiled as she stroked Mu Zixian's hair and kissed Mu Zixian on the cheek. Then, she grabbed her bathrobe and went to the bathroom. After Wang Yu finished showering, she carried the dinner back to the bedroom. The sound of her entering the door was a little loud, causing Mu Zixian to wake up. Hubby, are you done? Mu Zixian asked with sleepy eyes. Wang Yu lifted his bathrobe and sat in front of the table. He picked up a pair of chopsticks and ate while replying, You must be tired, rest early. I'm not tired. Mu Zixian climbed up and said, Is the dinner cold? Do you want me to warm it up for you? No need, the temperature is just right. Wang Yu smiled. How is it, how's business today? Business, it's great. Mu Zixian became spirited when business was mentioned. She directly sat up from the bed and happily said to Wang Yu, You don't know, the medicine, mixtures, and lime powder in the general store are all sold out. The money we earned in one afternoon is actually more than what I earn in a month. Wang Yu smiled. Hee right? I knew my wife was smart, she thought of the idea of opening a store. Mu Zixin curled her lips and said, Humph, you only know how to use flowery words to fool people. I just casually mentioned it to you, and you really opened a store. Did you think I didn't know you had this plan? There is, but we lack a housekeeper, Wang Yu said with a smile. You! Mu Zixin smiled and pushed Wang Yu. Ever since they got married, Wang Yu hadn't seen Mu Zixin this happy for a long time. When two people who loved each other were together, they would definitely be happy. However, it was a truth that would never change. A young woman had to travel outside in order to raise a family. There would always be too many grievances and unhappiness. In order to not let Wang Yu worry, Mu Zixin could only bear it alone. As the saying goes, even the most cheerful person will be defeated by the hardships of life. Honey, it's been hard on you these days. Wang Yu's nose couldn't help but turn sour when he thought of the difficult life he had in the past few days. He caressed Mu Zixin's face and said. Mu Zixin smiled sweetly. As long as I can be with you, a bit of hardship and tiredness is nothing. I want to save all my money. When I have enough money, I will buy a big house. Big house. Houses nowadays are quite cozy. Mu Zixin shook her head and said, That's different. I want to give birth to a bunch of children for you and let them learn martial arts. This bit of space is definitely not enough. Wang Yu smiled and said, Haha, one is enough, and a bunch of them. The little money we earn is not enough to pay the fine. Hee, you don't know, right? I met a big client today. Mu Zixin said with a smile. Big client? What big client? Wang Yu asked. He's called Old Friend of Don Shuangbing. I met him in the game today. He bought all of my medicines and mixtures and told me that if I have more in the future, he will want all of them. Old Friend of Don Shuangbing? That name sounds familiar. Of course it sounds familiar. I heard that they are from something called Xiaobing Studio. They are very famous in the industry. Mu Zixin said. Oh, I know. I saw them today. Wuji said that they like to monopolize the gaming industry. Wang Yu suddenly thought of something when she mentioned the studio. Mu Zixin smiled and said, Monopoly? It's okay. Only Xiao Shui knows how to make this kind of medicine. I am the monopoly now. That's true. Wang Yu listened and felt that it made sense. Currently, the only person in the game who could make intermediate medicines was Li Shui. Since the source was here, there was no need to be afraid of a monopoly. The next morning, after eating breakfast, Mu Zixin washed up in the kitchen. Wang Yu was just about to enter the game when the bedroom door suddenly rang. Who is it? Hearing the door, Wang Yu was shocked. Playing games required the whole body to relax, and Wang Yu naturally relaxed his body. At this time, Wang Yu was wearing a pair of boxer shorts. Brother Yu, it's me, Xiao Shui. Oh. Wang Yu casually put on some clothes and opened the bedroom door. Li Shui looked into the bedroom and saw that Mu Zixin was not there, so she walked in. What do you want? Wang Yu took a step back and asked cautiously. Li Shui hesitated and said, Brother Yu, there's something I've always wanted to tell you. Wang Yu was sweating profusely and said, Do you have to pick this time? If sister-in-law is here, she will not be happy. Li Shui said. Hearing Li Shui's words, Wang Yu suddenly felt a buzz in his head. He immediately said righteously, Shaoli, you are still young. Don't humiliate yourself. Let me tell you, your brother Yu is a serious person. Li Shui looked at Wang Yu in surprise and said, What are you talking about? I don't understand at all. That's right, what did you want to say? Wang Yu asked in a panic. That. Li Shui paused and said, Yesterday in the game, someone from a big guild added me as a friend and wanted to poach me to their guild. Oh, so that's how it is. Wang Yu let out a long sigh of relief. This guy was really scared. Brother Yu, what did you mean just now? Li Shui asked in confusion. Wang Yu hurriedly said, Exactly what you said. Speaking of which, the one who is unhappy about poaching you should be Wuji. What does it have to do with your sister-in-law? Li Shui explained, that big guild is actually a studio. They said that they want to work with me to make potions. They offered a high price. If I cooperate with them, I can't sell the potions to Sister Yu. Oh, is it Xiaobing Studio? Wang Yu asked Li Shui. Yes, it's them. Li Shui nodded. Then what do you think? Wang Yu was a democratic person and did not like to influence other people's thoughts. Moreover, when Li Shui and the other three were in the meeting, Wu Ji had made it clear to them that it was only a temporary shelter. If the four girls wanted to leave, no one would stop them. The girls were professional gamers. Since they were working in this industry, of course, their interests were the top priority. Wang Yu could not stop the girls from pursuing higher development because of his own thoughts. Li Shui said, everything we have now was given to us by Chuanjin. I can't get to where I am today without your help, Brother Yu. The four of us are not ungrateful people. Although the price offered by Xiaobing Studio is very high, we still decided to stay in Chuanjin. But what? Wang Yu asked. Xiaobing Studio is very powerful. I'm afraid that they will cause you trouble, Li Shui said worriedly. Wang Yu smiled and said, don't worry, Chuanjin is trouble. Chapter 258. After going online, Wang Yu returned to the blacksmith shop and found Simba. Then, he gave him the quest item. Oh my God, you really found it! I can't believe it! Simba cried out in surprise when he saw the ruler. Hearing this, Wang Yu was a little unhappy. Damn, the NPCs in the game were all like this. Knowing that it was impossible, they still sent people to die. Was this the mission given to them by the system? So, can my weapon be repaired now? Asked Wang Yu. Simba said loudly, no, it's corroded like that. How can it be repaired? You lied to me. Wang Yu was about to get angry, but Simba smiled and said, what's the hurry? Did you bring the smelting stone? Yes. Wang Yu took out a purple stone and handed it to Simba. Give me the weapon you're using now. Simba pointed at the boxing gloves on Wang Yu's hands. This? Wang Yu asked curiously. Wang Yu was very confused. The Qiankuan knife was obviously damaged, so what was the point of the gloves? Yes. Simba nodded. Although Wang Yu was puzzled, he still handed the boxing gloves over. Come back in an hour to get it, Simba said and walked into the blacksmith shop. An hour was still a long time. Wang Yu had nothing to do, so he strolled all the way to the general goods shop. In the general goods shop, Mu Zixian was busy. With the effect of yesterday's advertisement, there were obviously a lot more customers today. However, the expressions on these customers' faces were not very satisfied. You don't have anything? Why are you still opening a shop? One of the customers was a little grumpy and started to make a ruckus in front of the general goods shop. His ruckus did not matter, but it scared the people around him so much that they all ran far away and kept a distance from him. Seeing everyone's actions, that person seemed to be a little confused and asked angrily, what do you mean? We came to buy something, but she actually refused to sell it to us. Is she looking down on us? No one answered him, but they all raised their heads and looked at the signboard in front of the general goods shop. What's wrong? What's wrong with sister-in-law Nyo's sundry goods store? It's not a big store. Do you want to bully your customers? That person didn't seem to understand the meaning of the sign. Hearing his words, the surrounding people all thought to themselves, silly kid, let alone the fact that they didn't bully you. Even if they did, what could you do? Don't you know that Blood Alliance members have to keep a low profile here? Seeing this, Wang Yu walked over and said, Brother, this shop isn't big, and we don't bully customers. Please don't make a scene here, okay? Who are you? That person looked at Wang Yu strangely. This shop belongs to my wife. Who do you think I am? Wang Yu replied with a smile. When the crowd heard this, they immediately became excited. Oh my, is this the legendary Iron Ox? He doesn't look as cruel as the rumors say. So what if she's your wife? She actually looks down on me and purposely said that the goods were all sold out. She doesn't want to do business with me anymore. Isn't that bullying? That person heard the discussion around him and knew of Wang Yu's identity. Not only did his tone not soften, it became even more forceful. Actually, it was still early in the morning, and the shop had just opened. To say that the goods were all sold out, even Wang Yu did not believe it. But this matter involved his wife, so Wang Yu naturally could not help others. Wang Yu looked at that person and said, "My wife never lies. If she says the goods are all sold out, then they are definitely all sold out. So, let's be friendly and make money. Please don't make a scene here, understand?" That person laughed coldly. "Humph, if you say you don't lie, then you don't lie. Who do you think you are? Do you dare to say your name?" "My name is Iron Ox." Wang Yu very casually said his name. Why would he not dare to say his name? Iron Ox. Oh my, aren't you the legendary #1 expert of Yu Huiqing? You still say that you aren't bullying others? Are you trying to make me laugh? Wang Yu could see that this guy was indifferent to both soft and hard tactics. He was determined to cause trouble for no reason. Dealing with such an unreasonable guy, Wang Yu naturally did not have the patience to reason with him. He directly slapped him into white light. Oh my, this grandson is indeed as cruel as the rumors say. Seeing that Wang Yu killed someone without saying a word, and in such a clean manner, the surrounding crowd was terrified. They were afraid that Wang Yu would kill them all when he got angry, so they scattered in fright. "Wife, what's going on?" After chasing away the troublemakers, Wang Yu curiously asked Mu Zixian. "When we just opened this morning, Xiao Shuangbing came and bought everything in the store. There was no stock in the store, so the players were unhappy." Mu Zixian said to Wang Yu, "He bought everything? Didn't he say that he would only buy concoctions and potions?" The more Wang Yu thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. Although the grocery store was not big, it still had a lot of items. Lime powder, concoctions, antidotes, equipment, weapons, and so on were all available. Also, because of taxes, the grocery store had the same items as the system store, such as antidotes and torches, which were more expensive than in the system store. Even if the people from Xiao Shuangbing's studio did not lack money, they were still merchants. Spending money to buy things that were not available in the system store was fine, but they even bought things that were available in the system store. This matter was worth pondering. When something unusual happened, there must be something wrong. Wang Yu was used to the guys from Chuanjin scamming people everywhere, so he couldn't help but be cautious when it came to this kind of thing. Who knows? Not long after he left, someone came to cause trouble. Fortunately, you came in time. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to deal with it, Mu Zixian said with lingering fear. I think this matter is very likely related to the client from Xiao Shuangbing's studio, Wang Yu said. Xiao Shuangbing's husband, you're thinking too much. He was just buying things. He didn't do anything. We just didn't have enough goods, Mu Zixian said with a smile. Really? Wang Yu thought about it and felt that Mu Zixian was right. This was a normal business transaction. The money was paid and the goods were taken. As for the troublemaker, there would always be people who would haggle over every ounce in the world. You can't say that there was a conspiracy just because someone was being unreasonable. Was I really thinking too much? Wang Yu scratched his head. He felt that it was a little inappropriate to kill that guy rashly just now. However, Wang Yu had killed many people in his daily life. Killing such an unreasonable guy was a piece of cake, so he quickly put the matter to the back of his mind. What should we do now? Wang Yu asked Mu Zixian with a smile. Mu Zixian said helplessly, even if the goods are sold out, the store can't close, right? Your backpack is big, so come with me to the system store to buy some things. Okay. Wang Yu readily agreed to Mu Zixian's request. Chapter 259. Wang Yu's ring had no other uses, but it had a lot of space. Moreover, the same item could be stacked, and it didn't even have to worry about the weight. Its carrying capacity was comparable to that of a large truck. Mu Zixin didn't go to the equipment store or the potion store. Instead, she dragged Wang Yu to the general store to buy. Looking at the pile of paper, pens, torches, and other miscellaneous items in the ring, Wang Yu frowned and asked, "Wife, we're in a game. There's not much demand for these things. Why are you buying so many of them?" Mu Zixin smiled and said, "It's because there's not much demand. If there's a lot of demand, people will go to the store to buy them if we charge more. Besides, the main purpose of these things is to keep up appearances." When Wang Yu heard this, she felt that it made sense. Normally, very few people would buy these things. Most people would buy some when they were shopping for other items. Hence, as long as they could sell it, it would be considered a profit. If they couldn't sell it, they could put it on the shelves to prevent a shortage like today. Indeed, doing business also required skills. With such a meticulous wife, Wang Yu suddenly felt that his life was really worth it. Just as the couple was about to empty the general store, Wang Yu suddenly received a message from Ming Jian Daoxue. "Old cow, you're trending on the forums again." Wang Yu replied nonchalantly. Wang Yu was slowly getting used to being famous on the forums. Ming Jian Daoxue said, "Oh my ****, did you offend someone? A lot of people are scolding you on the forums." "Scolding me? What's wrong with me?" Wang Yu was puzzled. "Go and see for yourself. A bunch of fake reviewers posted on Yu Huiqing's forums. You and sister-in-law are on the headlines. Even our dark history has been exposed." In Xuanzhen, Wang Yu didn't care about being scolded. But when he heard that even Mu Zixin was involved, his face darkened. Wang Yu was a person who showed his emotions on his face. Mu Zixin could tell that Wang Yu was unhappy at a glance, so she asked, "What's wrong?" "I heard that someone is scolding me on the forum. Let me go and have a look." Mu Zixin did not have the endurance of the group of people in Xuanzhen. Wang Yu was afraid that Mu Zixin would be angry if she saw that he was scolded, so he did not say "we." "What's wrong with you again?" "I don't know. You pick something first. I'll be right back." With that, Wang Yu went offline, picked up his computer, and went to the forum. Opening the homepage of Yu Huiqing's forum, Wang Yu felt a murderous aura. The first headline on the front page was, "Yu Huiqing's #1 expert, Iron Ox, and his wife, this adulterous couple, opened a shop and bullied people. Customers failed to reason with them and were killed instead." The font was dyed red and was very eye-catching. There were 50 neatly arranged posts on the entire page. All of them were posts like this. Such a title made Wang Yu's heart skip a beat. He suddenly had a bad premonition. He clicked on it with his mouse. Sure enough, at the top of the post was the video of Wang Yu slapping the unreasonable guy to death. The video had obviously been edited. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the player was being unreasonable from the conversation between the two. And at this time, the video on the forum had completely removed the scenes that were favorable to Wang Yu. In summary, there was only one sentence. The customer was dissatisfied with being bullied, so the shop owner killed him. Below the video was the player's bloody and tearful complaint. First, he criticized Xuanzhen's numerous evil deeds in other games. Then, he mentioned that Xuanzhen had stirred up trouble in his rebirth. Wang Yu was completely described as an unscrupulous and unreasonable lackey. From both the side and the front, a grocery store with such a trash guild as its background, what other crazy things couldn't it do? Seeing that the poster argued from all sides, Wang Yu was so angry that he almost laughed. It was clearly this guy who asked for it. How dare he slander others like this? Those animals in Xuanzhen were purely unjustly implicated this time. Wuji was the most unlucky. The poster actually dug up the fact that Wuji had harassed female NPCs in Demon Slayer and was permanently banned by the system. It had to be said that in order to smear the reputation of Wang Yu and his wife, the poster really did a lot of homework. There were also many replies below. Most of them expressed sympathy after hearing the poster's bloody and tearful complaint and cursed the people of Xuanzhen, as well as Wang Yu and his wife. Others were fans of Chuanjin, and they followed the previous people and scolded them. There was also a small group of people who were more rational. They pointed out that the video was edited and doubted the authenticity of the matter. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the poster must have hired a water army. Otherwise, how could Yu Huiqing suddenly have so many new sock puppets with only tens of thousands of people? Wang Yu really wanted to post an explanation, but he knew that he had already been schemed against. At this time, he could only think of a way to deal with it. If he tried to explain, with the unreasonable behavior of those scoundrels, it would only make things worse. After adjusting his expression, Wang Yu returned to the game. Mu Zixin was standing beside Wang Yu, waiting. Seeing that Wang Yu had reached the upper limit, Mu Zixin asked worriedly, "What's wrong? Is it serious?" Wang Yu smiled and said, "It's nothing. It's just a small matter." "That's good." Mu Zixin only felt relieved when she heard that there was nothing wrong. After following Mu Zixin back to the grocery store and placing the goods on the shelves, Wang Yu said to Mu Zixin, "You go do what you need to do." Chapter 260. Genius in 1 second. Remember Net, providing you with exciting novels to read. Chun Xiang didn't forget to smooth things over. Haha, how can you say that about Wuji? He was young and insensible back then, so it was normal for him to make mistakes. But it's not easy to be like Wuji, making the same mistakes for so many years. Wuji, I support you. It was fine if Chun Xiang didn't say anything, but once he did, Wuji was immediately angered. Chun Go F*CKU. You were the one who told me that we could use physical inertia to make female NPCs do some kind of shameful action. You even said that if we learned mathematics, physics, and chemistry well, we wouldn't be afraid to travel the world. How dare you make such sarcastic remarks now? Everyone was speechless, and they looked at Chun Xiang with disdain. Instigating others to do bad things was indeed Chun Xiang's style. Although Chun Xiang looked like a serious uncle, no one in Chuanjin could compare to him in terms of wretchedness. Seeing that Wuji was angry, Chun Xiang quickly changed the topic. "Brother Nyo, what's going on with you? Just one person today. He came to cause trouble for no reason, and I killed him." Wang Yu told him what happened in the morning. As soon as Wang Yu finished, Wuji said, "Xiaobing's studio is trying to set you up." "I think so too, but I don't know what their intention is." Wang Yu was very puzzled. Spending so much money to buy so many goods didn't seem to be disadvantageous to the grocery store. Could it be that they wanted to make people not buy the goods and then monopolize the goods? But as long as they bought all the goods early, it would be fine. This was obviously unnecessary. Their intention is that Xiaobing's studio wants to destroy your store, and then monopolize the intermediate pharmaceutical market. Wuji said, "He destroyed my shop." "He's obviously giving me money," Wang Yu said with a smile. "You're still too young." Wuji glanced at Wang Yu with disdain and said, "He bought out your goods to divert your supply, and then took the opportunity to slander you to make your other customers lose. When he is the only customer left, the market will change from a seller's market to a buyer's market, and the world will be turned upside down. Do you understand?" "You don't understand much, but in the end you still bought my goods," Wang Yu said. Bullsh *T. If he doesn't pay attention to you, you won't be able to sell your goods. Then Edelweiss will continue to go through the consignment channel, and they will regain their monopoly in the market. Do you know that? But I think if they have a brain, they will directly ask Edelweiss for a price now," Wuji said in a daze. "What kind of brain do you have?" Wang Yu was shocked by Wuji. This guy casually said a few words, and he figured out the little plan of Xiaobing's studio. What shocked Wang Yu even more was that Wuji actually guessed that Xiaobing's studio would go to Li Shui. Xiaobing's studio, who could come up with such a treacherous idea, was certainly insidious, but Wuji, who could see through such a treacherous idea, could no longer be described as insidious, but as cunning. "By the way, what should I do now?" Wang Yu asked Wuji. Since he had figured out other people's tricks, he naturally had to ask an expert to guide him. Wuji said faintly, "Their main goal is the intermediate pharmaceutical. In the future, put 1/3 of the intermediate pharmaceutical on the counter, and keep 2/3. If they don't achieve their goal, they won't target you. Just take this opportunity to sell more garbage to them." "That's it? What should we do with the remaining 2/3? Wang Yu was a little confused. Wuji said, "Don't deal with it. Put it in the bank first, it will be used soon." After that, Wuji asked Mingjian Daoxue, "Daoxue, how much money do we have left in the guild's funds?" "About 5,000 gold coins." Mingjian Daoxue replied. The guild's funds belonged to the common income. Other than the money from selling the equipment that everyone obtained in the dungeon, there were also 4 female life profession players who donated. 5,000 gold coins was definitely not a small amount for this small guild of a dozen people. "Okay, go and put up a large number of orders to collect the potion materials. Invest all of this money." "Invest all of it? That's not appropriate, right?" The one who spoke was none other than Yang Na, who had been sitting there without saying a word. As a member of Chuanjin's fighting force, Wuji had also informed Yang Na of this small meeting in the tavern. What Wuji did not expect was that Yang Na really came. "Oh, why do you feel that it's not appropriate?" Wuji was very interested that someone dared to question his decision. "The guild's funds belong to everyone. There's no point in you buying those materials," Yang Na said. "If it was any other guild, the guild's funds would normally be used to purchase defensive equipment and base maintenance. The extra money would be given to everyone to buy points and the like. Using it to buy materials was a complete waste." Yin Lao Er and Baiming Yuyu were both newcomers and did not have much say in Chuanjin. Moreover, they had tasted the benefits of following Wuji, so even if they objected to Wuji's decision, they would not say it out loud and could only silently agree. Bao San and Chun Xiang, these old partners of Wuji, did not even think of objecting because they knew that it was useless. Yang Na, on the other hand, believed that as a member of the guild, she had the right to ask about the guild's funds. This behavior was also very reasonable. Moreover, she was a girl. At this moment, when she raised her doubts, compared to others, Wuji's attitude was also very different. Wuji said with a smile, "It's very meaningful for me to buy these materials because these materials will double our guild's funds." "Why should I believe your words?" Yang Na asked doubtfully. "You don't need to believe this. You just need to believe that I will not let the people who made me lose face have it easy." Wuji clenched his teeth and said. Seeing Wuji's expression, Yang Na's heart thumped and she said in her heart, "Make him lose face? Is this grandson talking about me? Do you have any other questions?" Wuji asked Yang Na. "No." Yang Na shook her head. Although she had only been in contact with this brat Wuji for 2 days, Yang Na had already seen all kinds of sinister and vicious moves from Wuji. This guy had long been classified as a dangerous person by Yang Na, second only to Wang Yu in terms of danger. Moreover, most of the money was donated by the 4 girls. After buying the materials, they would be used to make potions. When the time came, they would sell the potions. Anyways, they wouldn't lose money. Seeing that Yang Na had no more opinions, Wuji drank a cup of wine and cleared his throat. "Okay, I didn't call everyone here to talk about this. Today, I got a good job. I don't know if everyone is interested." "What good job?" When everyone heard Wuji's words, they all became interested. Currently, everyone was around level 20 and could at most do 2 dungeons. For example, Baiming Yuyu was only level 17 or 18 and couldn't even keep up with the team. After dungeons, they would just have to run around the map to level. This kind of life couldn't be any more boring. When they heard that Wuji had a good job, everyone's ears perked up. Wuji smiled. "Help Blood Alliance defend the base." Understood, understood. Blood Red War Flag had no choice but to lower their heads and nod. "Then let's not beat around the bush. The general conditions are the same as last time. We have the first pick of the equipment, and your guild will be responsible for the supplies. As for the price, 500 gold per person isn't much. 500 gold! Blood Red War Flag painfully shouted. Just as they were about to bargain, they saw Wang Yu and the others staring at them. They quickly said, "It's not expensive at all." The experts of the Chuanjian sect were already furious that they were being treated as goods with a clear price tag. If the Blood Red War Flag lowered the price a little more, with the temper of these people, who knew what they would do? That's right, bloody boss. That's the spirit that a guild master should have. These 7 brothers of mine can fight 10 people at once. Actually, you're not losing out at all. Hiring professional players would cost at least 50 gold coins, right? Wuji said as he pointed at the rest of them, excluding Wang Yu and Yang Na. Of course. Blood Red War Flag wiped his sweat. Actually, that was what he was thinking, but he didn't think that Wuji would not let him take advantage of them. But since everyone is charging 500 gold based on their strength, Iron Ox and Sister Qingxue will definitely be unhappy. Wuji pointed at Wang Yu and Yang Na. Then what does Boss Wuji think? Blood Red War Flag asked. Wuji casually said, 1,000 gold for Iron Ox and 800 for Sister Qingxue. The price is fair and reasonable. Isn't this price a little too high? Blood Red War Flag immediately replied. Why? Are you doubting our Iron Ox's strength? Wuji stared at Blood Red War Flag. No. Blood Red War Flag hurriedly said, I know Boss Iron Ox's strength, but this girl, up until now, only Blood Alliance had a direct conflict with Wang Yu. Blood Red War Flag knew more than anyone else how terrifying Wang Yu was, but a girl was asking for such a high price. This was something Blood Red War Flag could not understand. Wuji smiled calmly and said, Did Blood Red Rose give you a guide on how to fight Hell's Blood Alliance before she left? Yes, she did. Blood Red War Flag blushed a little. It was quite embarrassing to have a guide exposed. When we fought Hellhound, the archer who pulled the boss was our sister Qingxue. Do you think she's worth 800 gold? Wuji squinted his eyes and asked. So it's her. Blood Red War Flag said with a dazed expression. Although the guide that Blood Red Rose gave Blood Red War Flag was not very useful for Blood Alliance in fighting Hell's Blood Alliance, it still shocked Blood Red War Flag. Of course, Blood Red War Flag remembered the archer who was able to keep the boss within 3 meters of her. What's wrong, boss? Do you still have any objections? Wuji asked again. Nope. Blood Red War Flag's reply was quite straightforward. These people from Chuanjian were all true experts. Although the price was a little expensive, it was definitely worth it. Rather than spending the same amount of money to hire professional players to help defend, it was more reliable to hire people from Chuanjian. At the very least, when Blood Red War Flag saw these people, they felt more at ease. Then it settled. Is the time set? Wuji raised his cup, clinked it with Blood Red War Flag's cup, and drank it in one gulp. I've already notified the guild members. We'll gather in half an hour. Blood Red War Flag said. Wuji thought for a moment and said, Boss, do you believe in my commanding ability? Of course. Blood Red War Flag shouted. Although Wuji's character was bad, anyone who had seen Wuji's commanding ability would definitely not doubt him. Alright, give me another 200 gold. I'll command this defense mission and I guarantee that it'll be a success. Wuji said. Alright, then it's settled. They had already spent so much money. Another 200 gold wouldn't affect Blood Red War Flag much. That's good. Go and gather with your people first. We'll prepare and head over. Chapter 262. After the Blood Red War Flag left, everyone stood up and surrounded Wuji with unfriendly expressions. Country bumpkin. Little bro. Wuji panicked. Don't mess around, I'm the guild leader, you guys should give me some face. Speaking of which, you sold us out just like that. Chun Xiang looked at Wuji. Wuji calmly asked back, "Are you not satisfied with this price?" 500 gold. The current market price was close to 500,000 gold. Currently, the most expensive piece of equipment was only 300 gold. This price to help defend the encampment once was already a sky-high price. If it wasn't a large guild like Blood Alliance with thousands of players, no matter who saw this price, they would definitely retreat. After all, although the price of goods had risen and the purchasing power of RMB had decreased, to most people, 500,000 was still not a small amount. "I'm quite satisfied. It's just that I'm very unhappy that you're selling us out at such a clearly marked price," Wang Yu said from the side. "Yes, not bad." Everyone agreed. "Fine, then I won't take the middleman's fee. How about that?" Wuji shamelessly said. He didn't expect this guy to sell them out and still want them to count the money for him. "Middleman, my ass. Didn't you ask for 200 gold in the end? Take it out and split it with us. Otherwise, we'll kill you." Famous sword Dao Shui was a practical person and went straight to the point. "You robbers have no skills at all." Wuji didn't dare to refuse, but he still didn't like it. Everyone said together, "This is called extortion." F***ck Wuji was depressed, that was his line. After the ruckus, everyone returned to their seat. Wuji cleared his throat, "Then everyone should go and prepare. We'll gather here in 20 minutes. Everyone stood up and left. Wang Yu went to the smithy to get his weapon. The NPC was always punctual and said he would finish in an hour, not a second more or less. At this time, Simba was sitting in front of the smithy waiting for Wang Yu. "Teacher, have you finished repairing my weapon?" Wang Yu asked respectfully. Simba nodded and stroked his beard as he shouted, "Oh no, this is the most perfect weapon that I've ever repaired in my life. This smithing improved my smithing art by nearly a boundary." "Thank you, teacher." Wang Yu was overjoyed when he heard this. He hurriedly stretched out his hand and pretended to take the equipment. Unexpectedly, Simba also extended his hand and said to Wang Yu, 100 gold coins. 100 gold coins. Wang Yu was shocked. "I've already helped you raise your cultivation level. Do you still need money?" In order to play the game well, Wang Yu had downloaded quite a number of online games to study. It seemed that in other games, if a blacksmith helped the protagonist forge a divine weapon to increase his realm, not only would the blacksmith not ask for money, but he would also give the protagonist all kinds of divine weapons out of gratitude. In this game, Wang Yu hadn't even asked for a divine weapon from the blacksmith, but the blacksmith was asking for a forging fee first. This made Wang Yu very confused. Simba shook his head and said, "Young man, you're thinking too much. Increasing my realm is my business. Not a single cent less." "You're ruthless." Wang Yu sighed and took out a pouch of money and passed it to Simba. 100 gold coins was enough to buy a top-notch weapon, but it was only used as a forging fee here. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Yu didn't lack that bit of money, he would have turned around and left without even taking the glove. Simba smiled and said, "Your equipment is definitely worth this price." With that, Simba casually took out a pair of gloves and threw it to Wang Yu. Wang Yu took a look and smiled with satisfaction. He cupped his hands at Simba and said, "Thank you, teacher." Martial Artist Psi Attack. 200200 Mana. 200200 Strength. 20 Agility. 20 Haste. Attack Speed plus 30 Splash. 20 attacks deal damage to units around the target. The maximum damage is 65% of the target's attack power. Battle Spirit. Every 5 HP lost will stack a layer of Battle Spirit. Each layer will increase the attack power by 1. Understand Weakness. 10% chance to deal critical damage. Special Skills. Devour. Can fuse with weapons of the same level to repair oneself and level up. Follow Heart. Can change into other weapon forms according to the player's needs. Current unlocked, Staff. Additional skill, Block. Universe Blade. Additional skill, Quick Switch. Level requirement, 20 class requirement. Martial artist Simba had actually fused the universe blade with martial artist Sai. Martial artist Sai not only unlocked the form of the universe blade, but it also made up for the universe blade's low attribute. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. To Wang Yu, the forging fee of 100 gold coins wasn't expensive at all. It was completely worth it. Just as Wang Yu was about to turn and leave, a golden light surrounded Wang Yu. Wang Yu had risen to level 22. System notice: you have completed the A-rank quest, Qualified Blacksmith. You have gained 500,000 EXP. Simba's Forging Notes 1. What the hell is a forging notebook? Wang Yu reached into her bag and fished out a thick and dirty notebook. She handed it to Simba and asked. When Simba saw the notebook, he suddenly shouted, "This is my note. Where did you find it?" Quest reward. Wang Yu said. "Give it to me," Simba said, stretching out his hands. Wang Yu quickly took back the notebook and said, "This is my quest reward. Why should I give it to you?" Simba said, "Only I can tell you what it can be used for." System notice: do you want to return Simba's notebook? Wang Yu scratched his head and said, "This notebook is useless in my hands. But can you please tell me what benefits I will get if I return it to you?" "I will teach you the greatest forging technique," Simba said excitedly. Wang Yu asked again, "Can you teach it to me first?" The ancients had long said that it was not easy to learn, but it would only take a moment for one to learn. Wang Yu had followed Chun Xiang and Mingdu on a quest and learned all of their wretched tricks. Simba impatiently threw out a cowhide notebook. Wang Yu reached out and caught it. At the same time, the notebook in Wang Yu's hand flew into Simba's hand. Simba's cowhide blueprint. Rare item. Used to create blueprints. Durability. 10-10 cheating. Didn't you say you would give me the greatest technique? Wang Yu said unhappily. Simba explained, in the system settings, if you return the notebook, I will teach you the art of drawing. But since you insisted on cheating, I could only follow the rules and give you this item. F***CK, is that even possible? Can I choose again? Wang Yu asked regretfully. She did not expect to fall into the system's trap by trying to be clever. Permanent skills became limited skills. Chapter 263. So be it. Wang Yu had the mindset of a normal player and didn't care too much about subclasses. He casually stuffed the blueprint into his bag and returned to the tavern. After everyone from the Quan Zhen sect finished their preparations, the group of 10 arrived at the gathering point of the Blood Alliance. In the game, the big guilds had very strict discipline. For guild events like this, unless they had a wife or a child or something extremely important, no one would miss them. There was still 5 minutes until the gathering time, and the gathering point was already filled with Blood Alliance players. Blood Alliance had one main guild, 4 subsidiary guilds, and a total of 2,217 people. Excluding those who had urgent matters to attend to, there were actually 2,194 people here. Such a high level of guild cohesion caused the Chuanjin sect members to sigh in amazement. Chuanjin was a bunch of undisciplined people. Unless it was a matter of life and death, they would slack off on guild quests whenever they could. For example, Wang Yu didn't even know what a guild quest was. At this moment, there were 4 square formations at the gathering point. Blood Red War Flag stood at the very front and had a serious expression on his face. In the game, everyone could form a party and use the channel to speak. No matter how soft the voice was, everyone could hear it. They didn't even need to use a megaphone. The people from Chuanjin sect walked over sloppily under the gaze of the crowd. Everyone was whispering to each other. Compared to the people from Blood Alliance, they were really free and undisciplined. Being surrounded by so many people, not only did they not feel awkward, they even waved their hands at them. They were like military officers, just short of shouting "Good work, comrades." Seeing Chuanjin walk over, Blood Red War Flag walked over to welcome them. "You guys are here." "Yes." Guild leader Wuji replied and then nodded his head. These are your people? Yes, the people from all 5 guilds are basically all here. Blood Red War Flag said. Guild garrison quests were the same as guild expedition quests. They could invite other guilds to help. Blood Alliance had been developing their guild for such a day. Wuji casually looked at everyone. There are quite a lot of people, but it's useless. In the game, there was a sound amplification effect in the same map. Although Wuji's voice wasn't loud, many people still heard it. Most of these people did not know Chuanjin's group. When they heard Wuji's words, they immediately became unhappy. Damn it, where did this pretentious criminal come from? It was normal for them to be angry. Anyone would be unhappy to be despised for no reason. Oh, you have a problem with what I said? Wuji was famous for his foul mouth. Seeing everyone's indignant expression, he didn't feel ashamed. Instead, he felt very satisfied. Who the F***ck are you calling useless? A hot-tempered guy jumped out on the spot. Wuji laughed and said, No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about all of you. As he spoke, Wuji extended his index finger and pointed at everyone, including Blood Red War Flag. Blood Red War Flag's face turned red from Wuji's mockery. D***mn, why is this bastard mocking everyone? Are you sure you're here to help and not cause trouble? The core members of Blood Alliance all knew Wuji and knew how strong he was. They didn't scold him like the others, they just didn't understand what Wuji was doing. Boss Wuji, you can't do this. Look, everyone wants to kill you more than defend. Blood Red War Flag said with concern. They hadn't even fought and he was already making the morale of the army unstable. Especially since he was the commander, what was the point of fighting? Wuji smiled. Don't worry, most of them won't have a chance to enter the battlefield. Blood Red War Flag froze and asked, What do you mean? The reason why Blood Alliance dared to challenge the defense mission was because of the 2,000 people under him. Don't you know that the monsters in the base will increase with the number of guards? Wuji asked Blood Red War Flag. Is that so? I really didn't know. Blood Red War Flag was stunned. Level 20 players weren't the mainstream. Dungeons had just been opened, so the number of guilds with a base could be counted on 2 hands. Naturally, not many people knew about this strategy. According to the traditional view, the more people defending the base, the better. However, once the system had this setting, more people would only cause more trouble. Then what should we do now? Blood Red War Flag asked Wuji. Quan Zhen's sect was one of the guilds with a base, so they had much more experience than Blood Red War Flag, who was completely clueless. Brother Chun. Wuji snapped his fingers and Chun Xiang stood up behind Wuji. He took out a map and said, This is the map of Venomous Snake Valley that I drew. The monsters guarding this time are most likely the elite monsters from Hurricane Cave. Wuji has already discussed the specific stats with me. According to the scale of Venomous Snake Valley, the perfect ratio of people to monsters should be around 800. There were many quests in the game where the number of monsters depended on the player. Therefore, when people encountered these quests, they would calculate the ratio of people to monsters based on the size of the map and the player's stat. This way, they could maximize the player's effort and increase the quest's efficiency. However, a ratio of people to monsters wasn't something that just anyone could calculate. Those who were good at calculating this required a high level of professionalism. Not only did they have to calculate the scale of the map, they also had to have a thorough understanding of the stats of the various classes and monsters. Blood Alliance naturally had people like this, and Blood Wind Whisper was one of them. However, when it came to calculation, even an expert like Wuji was an amateur compared to Chun Xiang, let alone Blood Wind Whisper. Just by looking at the map in Chun Xiang's hands, one could tell what a professional was. Isn't 800 a little too little? When Blood Red War Flag heard that more than half of their guild members wouldn't be able to participate, they felt a bit guilty. It's not too little. If there are too many players, I won't be confident, Chun Xiang said seriously. If there are too few people, I won't be confident, Blood Red War Flag said. Then what are the specific requirements? Blood Red War Flag asked. Wuji said, the requirements aren't too harsh. Apart from having a movement speed of over 500, there must be at least 240 archers. The other classes can be evenly distributed, but Grandmasters of Combat are not required. The monsters in Hurricane Cave weren't slow, so the players' mobility had to be guaranteed. Archers were the main damage output against the flying snakes and the biggest boss, Angela, so they needed to have enough archers. In this kind of large-scale battle where the players were outnumbered, the longer they were, the stronger they were. Thieves could use stealth to launch sneak attacks, but Grandmasters of Combat shouldn't be a problem. Chapter 264. Blood Alliance had over 2,000 people and their levels were all higher than Yu Huiqing's. Finding 800 of these players was easy. Very quickly, the 800 players with the strongest stats were picked out. The others were useless and could only helplessly leave. The 800 people lined up according to their professions and stood in a square formation. Wuji nodded his head in satisfaction and said loudly, "Trash! F***CK." Hearing Wuji's words, Blood Red War Flag nearly fell to the ground. This bastard didn't listen to him. Why was he mocking them again? As expected, after Wuji's mockery, everyone was enraged. Some of the more stubborn ones were already planning to throw Wuji into the crowd of monsters to feed the snakes while they were guarding the encampment. Wuji laughed. "I know you don't like me, but I'm the commander your boss hired. You can't do anything to me." F***CK F***CK F***CK. Blood Red War Flag's channel was in chaos. Everyone was shouting, "Boss, is what this bastard said true?" It's true." Blood Red War Flag wiped off their sweat. Wuji was playing with fire. Just one sentence was enough to raise their morale. However, the target wasn't monsters. "Let's see if I can kill him. Bring me along, everyone said. Seeing how agitated everyone was, Wuji continued, "I know you all want to kill me in your hearts, but that doesn't change the fact that you all are trash." F***CK. Everyone was in an uproar. "Don't get too excited. It's not impossible for me to change my title. Unless what?" Everyone asked at the same time. They were all elites picked out of 2,000 people, and none of them wanted to be called trash. "Unless you guys can defend your position. Of course, it's understandable that you bunch of trash can't defend your position. Even if you fail, it's not my fault. Anyway, I've already accepted the money, so I won't return it," Wuji said, not forgetting to sneer at them. Everyone was filled with rage as they shouted, F***CK. "We'll defend our position for you to see." Seeing everyone's attitude, Blood Red War Flag finally understood that Wuji was trying to provoke them. As everyone knew, hot-bloodedness was contagious. Such a simple method of provocation would not usually have any effect on a single person, but when it was used on a group of people, the effect was very obvious. Blood Alliance's members were all pumped up and their morale was raised to the max. One had to say that Wuji was really good at analyzing people's hearts. The desired effect had been achieved. Wuji smiled at Blood Red War Flag and said, "All right, you can go and accept the quest." Blood Red War Flag said with sincere admiration, "Boss Wuji, with you here, I feel that this mission will be a success." With that, Blood Red War Flag pulled Chuanjin's team into the team and handed command to Wuji. After accepting the quest from the City Lord's mansion, the 800 people went to Venomous Snake Valley. Just like when the Quan Zhen sect was guarding the encampment, once the mission of guarding the encampment was accepted, the monsters in the Venomous Snake Valley were reorganized. At this time, thousands of snake monsters were densely packed on the ground, waiting for the start of the guard mission. Humans instinctively feared cold-blooded animals like snake. Although in the game, snake monsters were just a set of numbers, there were tens of thousands of different kinds of snakes. When the players saw them, their scalps went numb. Maybe Wuji had already guessed this, which was why he tried to provoke the Blood Alliance members before he came. Seeing Wuji stare at them and sneer, the Blood Alliance players' fear disappeared as they looked at Wuji with hostility. After all, they were already seen as trash. If they continued to act cowardly, wouldn't they be called useless? Seeing that their subordinates didn't panic in the face of so many snake monsters, Blood Red War Flag couldn't help but praise Wuji's psychological tactic. The venomous Snake Valley was much wider than the Sunset Canyon. Moreover, the terrain of this valley was basically a plaza. There were no gourd openings or other similar terrain on both sides. Therefore, this time, he couldn't cheat like the last time when the Quan Zhen sect guarded the encampment. Chuanzhen's team was in front and brought everyone to the center of venomous Snake Valley. Wuji took the map from Chun Xiang and after comparing it, he pointed at the flat terrain in the middle and said, "We can build the camp here. This place isn't easy to defend, right?" Blood Red War Flag was the leader of a big guild. After playing so many games, they naturally knew that it was better to build the camp according to the terrain. If they built their encampment at the location Wuji pointed out, the entire guild would be isolated and the difficulty of defending the encampment would increase by more than just a little. Wuji said coldly, "Do you know how many monsters there are?" "How many?" "At least 32,000, and there are 4 bosses leading them. The terrain here is wide, so if we build the camp according to the terrain, the number of enemies will increase. Are you confident that you can take on 30,000 monsters head-on?" "No." Blood Red War Flag shook his head. "With such a huge difference in numbers, fighting head-on would be suicide. That's why we need to split the monsters up and destroy them. By placing the encampment here, we can at least split the monsters into 4 groups. That way, the pressure on our 800 people will be reduced." Wuji pointed at the map as he spoke. Wang Yu heard Wuji's words and asked in the guild channel, "Are you serious? I don't think there's a big difference between splitting them into 3 or 4 teams." Wang Yu always liked to use his strength to crush his enemies, so his personality was simple and violent. There was no difference between 3 and 4 teams. Mingdu laughed. "Don't listen to Wuji. He's definitely doing this on purpose. If we fight with Blood Alliance's camp will be easy to attack and hard to defend." One had to say that Mingdu, who was used to scheming, had his own reasoning. Spring Xiang said, "No, in this situation, defending on 4 sides will be easier than defending on 3. To place one's pride said in disdain, Brother Spring loves to gamble. Venomous Snake Valley's terrain is limited. If we defend on 4 sides, the monsters will be in contact with us in a circle. If we defend on 3 sides, the monsters will be in contact with us in a semicircle. The contact area will be reduced by half, so of course it will be easier to defend on 3 sides." Spring Xiang smiled and rubbed to place one's pride's head. "Hee, not bad. To place one's pride has improved. It's just that you haven't thought enough." Ming Jian Daoxue smiled. "Oh, I think I understand now. Wuji is luring the monsters into a long snake formation." Wuji turned around and looked at Ming Jian Daoxue. He nodded his head in satisfaction and said, "Daoxue, compared to those brainless fellows, I respect you the most in the Quan Zhen sect. Damn it." Wang Yu and the others who were despised clenched their fists gloomily. Chapter 265. Encircling and attacking was a common tactic used by mindless monsters with low AI in various games when they had the advantage in numbers. Although the game was a holographic simulation, the monsters without AI could not escape from this tactic. This tactic was like a snake with its head and tail connected, which was why the players called it the one-line snake formation. The one-line snake formation was one of the ancient Chinese formations that used numbers to attack the enemy. It focused on using 10 times the number of enemies to encircle and annihilate the enemy. It was a clean and efficient method. Of course, as long as it was an array, there would naturally be variations. However, the monsters in the game only instinctively understood the simple and crude word surround. This way, Wuji found an opening. One had to know that in the mission of guarding the encampment, the number of monsters was 40 times that of the players. 10 times the number of enemies was enough to encircle the encampment, let alone 40 times the number of enemies. Although the snake monsters were small, there were more than 30,000 of them. It was more than enough to encircle the encampment a few times. However, no matter how many circles they encircled, the snake monster's only effective target was the encampment's gate. The guild encampment was a square structure with a total of 4 gates. The walls on both sides of the 4 gates were all areas where attacks were ineffective. There were a total of 4 areas where attacks were ineffective. Just as To Place One's Pride said, if the encampment was based on the mountain terrain, the snake monster's encirclement would only be a semicircle. The monsters would encircle 3 gates, and the encirclement would be 180 degrees around the encampment, passing through 2 areas where attacks were ineffective. If 4 gates were left, the encirclement would double, and there would be 4 areas where attacks were ineffective. This way, not only would the density of the monsters be reduced, but the encirclement would also be weaker than the encirclement on 3 sides. The players would be defending on 4 sides, and they would only be missing 1 target, but the pressure would be reduced by more than double. Blood Alliance was such a big guild, and there were smart people in the guild. For example, when Blood Wind Whisper suggested setting up the encampment in the middle of the valley, he quickly understood what Wuji meant. Blood Red War Flag was not smart. The only good thing about it was that it listened to others. After listening to Wuji's arrangement, it did not say anything and directly set up the encampment in the middle of the venomous Snake Valley. After the encampment was set up, the system prompted the 10-minute countdown. Wuji admired the Blood Red War Flag's decisiveness. After all, he had stayed in the impure environment of the Quan Zhen sect for a long time. Seeing such an honest guy, Wuji couldn't help but feel that this guy was a little silly and cute. Seeing that Blood Red War Flag trusted him so much, Wuji did not hide anything. He ordered the players to be split into 8 groups and guard the 4 gates. With Wuji's personality, the 8 groups of Blood Alliance players obviously wouldn't be in a normal formation with a tank at the front and a healer at the back. Although the Blood Alliance members were not happy with Wuji, he was the commander-in-chief. Not giving him face was the same as not giving Blood Red War Flag face. Helpless, they could only obey. Under Wuji's command, every 2 groups guarded 1 gate. Their formation was arranged in a conical shape, and they needed to form a large letter to block the entrance of the encampment. Apart from the 240 archers that were chosen by Wuji, the other classes were evenly distributed. Due to their experience in dungeons, Blood Red War Flag chose the classes that were beneficial for this dungeon. For example, the Retribution Paladins behind the Shield Warriors. This was a strategy that Blood Red War Flag had learned from Wuji. It maximized the skill of paladins that were usually useless in team battles. That was why the outermost layer of the V formation was a circle of shield bearers. Further in were the spear-wielding punishment paladins. Further back were the damage dealers and healers. At the very back, a large number of archers occupied the main damage output. The technical content of the formation was much better than a square formation. When they were arranged, it was inevitable that they would be a bit messy. The Blood Alliance players did not like Wuji. Now that Wuji's actions were like a demon, everyone started to mock and look down on him. With Wuji's temper, he naturally couldn't be bothered to explain anything. The bunch of losers from the Quan Zhen sect had always been despised by Wuji. At this moment, they were happy to watch others speak ill of Wuji. All of them crossed their arms and looked like they were watching a show. Only Blood Alliance's core members, such as Blood Red War Flag and Blood Wind Whisper, who had fought with Wuji in the past, stood out to comfort the Blood Alliance members. After all, the strength of Wuji's formation was something that ordinary players might not know, but they had personally witnessed. Boss Wuji, your formation is quite interesting. What is it called? Blood Red War Flag asked curiously. 8-gate formation, Wuji said calmly. So strong. Blood Red War Flag praised. Oh? You can tell how strong this formation is? Wuji asked Blood Red War Flag with some surprise. Hearing Wuji's question, Blood Red War Flag's face turned red all the way to his neck. I can't tell, but the name sounds awesome. Sigh. Wuji sighed, a lonely look on his face. Wuji thought that Blood Red War Flag could understand his formation, but who knew that this guy could not even be considered an amateur? At most, he was just here to watch the show. How is this strong? This 8-gate formation is just the name of a formation created by our predecessors. At most, it can be used as a defensive formation. The Real 8-gate formation is divided into 8 directions. Even if there were twice as many monsters, it would be able to trap them. I won't be able to understand the essence of the ancient. Wuji shook his head and said regretfully. When Blood Red War Flag heard this, he was completely confused. However, he could tell that there was a formation that was even stronger than Wuji's. It was just that Wuji could not understand it. This made Blood Red War Flag even more surprised. It turned out that there was such a profound thing in the world. Playing a game required so much knowledge. It seemed like he had played all those games for nothing. Under the comforting and guidance of Blood Red War Flag and the others, the formation was finally completed. Wuji specially placed Blood Red War Flag, and Blood Red Wind Whisper into the various teams to act as commanders. These core players had all stood in the cone formation before, so they were very familiar with it. The Blood Alliance players looked at each other and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They still did not understand what was the point of standing like this. After standing in the formation, there were still 3 minutes until the guard's countdown ended. When the Blood Alliance players saw that not only did Chuanjin's group not stand in the formation, but they were also at the back of the team, they started to become unhappy. They all asked Wuji, "We're standing in the formation, are you just going to watch from the back?" The Blood Alliance players all knew that Wuji was hired by Blood Red War Flag. No one was willing to spend money for nothing. Wuji calmly replied, "Just stand in your position. We naturally have our own mission." Chapter 266. When Blood Red War Flag set up camp in the middle of Venomous Snake Valley, the snake monsters in the valley began to move. Very quickly, they surrounded the entire camp. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 guard begins. As the countdown ended, 4 golden lights lit up in the east, west, north, and south direction of the guild camp. 4 bosses appeared in the middle of the group of monsters. The 4 bosses led the team. This was why Venomous Snake Valley was harder to defend than Sunset Valley. Although it was important to use the terrain to block the monsters, if there were 4 bosses in Sunset Valley, no matter how capable Wuji was, he would not be able to defend the camp with just 8 people. Chuanjin and the others stood on the observation deck of the guild camp and could clearly see the 4 bosses. The one facing the main entrance of the camp was the leader, Angela. Because she was guarding the camp, she had increased her rank. She was even more flirtatious than when she was in the dark cave. Naga Queen, Angela HP. 800000 price. 500000 skills. Bone Corroding Poison Cloud, Kiss of Nightmare, Death Gaze, Stone Forest Protection, Snake King, Snake Dance Status. Magic Scale Armor, immune to magic attacks, immune to non-sharp weapons. At this moment, Angela was raising her 2 slender arms and mumbling something. Although they could not understand the language of the non-humanoid monsters, they knew that Angela was brainwashing them from their postures. The boss on the left side of the camp was also a familiar one, the Viper General. Viper General, JHP, 100000 price. 5000 skills. Triple strike, sweep, stab, nether serpent's firm, snake dance. The Viper General was a warrior-type boss. According to the usual practice, only its main attributes had been increased. As for its skills, other than the special battle skills for guarding the camp, it was basically the same. The boss on the right side was the illusionary snake. The illusionary snake did not change much. Other than the increase in rank and the use of battle skills, its attributes were still trash and its skills were still as bad as ever. In short, it was here to annoy people. The boss that caught Wuji's attention the most was the last boss, Concealment. Concealment, Quinton HP, 300000 price, 20,000 skills. Killer Instinct, Venom Erosion, Stealth, Venomous Fang Strike, Snake Flurry. This lurker was similar to the Viper General. It was a half-human, assassin-type monster and an elite boss. It would not be easy to deal with. The battle formation skill, Dance of Snakes, was the same as Urso's battle formation skill. It was given by the system and increased the attributes by 2 times. At that moment, the 4 bosses were standing in 4 different directions. According to the system's nature, if these bosses took turns, the battle formation's attributes would most likely stack. Realizing this, Blood Red War Flag wiped the cold sweat off its forehead. Fortunately, it had listened to Wuji's words and chosen to stand guard on all 4 sides. Otherwise, if any 2 of these bosses were stacked on top of each other, its stats would have quadrupled. Due to the guild token's geographical location, the monsters in the Hurricane Cave were of the same level as the Abyss itself. Their levels were already much higher than the players, and if their levels were quadrupled, the consequences would be unimaginable. After the 4 bosses appeared, Wuji gave orders to the Chuanjin experts in the guild channel of Chuanjin. Sister Qingxue, you and Mingdu will aggro the Viper General. This boss's life-saving skill is invincibility, and its weakness is at its back, Wuji said to Yang Na and Mingdu as he pointed at the Viper General. The Viper General had high attack and high speed, but its physical defense was average. Its magic resist was even worse. Classes with high evasion and high attack were needed to deal with it. Everyone knew that Yang Na's evasion was very high. Moreover, archers had a passive effect of armor penetration, which was very effective against monsters like the Viper General. On the other hand, Mingdu's damage was so high that it was comparable to Wang Yu's. Moreover, Mingdu had 2 extremely powerful evasion skills, teleport and displacement. It was perfect for him to team up with Yang Na to deal with the Viper General. Among the Chuanjin sect's 10 fighting sequences, only one of them was a girl. Therefore, everyone was wondering who Yang Na would be paired with. In the end, when Wuji gave the opportunity to fight alongside a beauty to himself, Mingdo was so excited that he almost couldn't speak clearly. Wuji, you really are my brother. Don't talk nonsense. Just remember to buy me a drink. Wuji rolled his eyes at Mingdu, who was trying to act innocent. He then turned to Yin Lao Air and said, "Second brother, follow me to the right and distract the illusionary snake." The illusionary snake's attributes were very trash, but its illusion skill was a bit of a cheat. If they were in Hurricane Cave, it wouldn't be able to cause any trouble even if everyone ignored it. However, in the encampment quest, it was related to the ownership of the territory. The boss wouldn't take the initiative to retreat, so a fixed strategy definitely wouldn't work. Fortunately, with the inspiration from Wang Yu's hero Wang, Wuji knew that as long as one's reaction was fast enough, even if the illusionary snake's attributes became stronger, it would still be able to kill it. That was why Wuji personally went into battle to deal with this fellow that had once caused him to lose face. Wuji was a cleric, a mage class with a single attack method. It was still somewhat difficult for him to solo the illusionary snake, so Wuji brought along Yin Lao Air. Yin Lao Air was a tank with HP that didn't lose to the illusionary snake. Moreover, Yin Lao Air could freely switch weapons when fighting monsters, which was enough to prove his reaction speed. Even if the 2 of them teamed up to kill the illusionary snake, With Wuji around, he could guarantee that Yin Lao Er wouldn't die. Alright, you'll be in command later. Yin Lao Er nodded. He had enough confidence in Wuji. Brother Chun, that concealer is a new boss. We don't have a strategy, but from its skills, it's quite difficult to deal with. It'll be safer if the 5 of you go. Wuji pointed at Bao 3 to place one's pride, as well as the 2 assassins, Snow Sword and North Cu. The concealer was an agility-type boss that could turn invisible. This kind of boss, in such a wide map, would be able to guarantee that it wouldn't die even if its strength wasn't good enough. Chun Xiang was calm and controllable, and the other 4 had extremely high damage output. With the help of the demons that Chun Xiang summoned, it wouldn't be a problem to trap the concealer outside of the siege monster's range. Chun Xiang laughed. Relax, this old man is very good at dealing with creatures that can turn invisible. The others had already finished distributing their tasks, leaving only Wang Yu and the OSS Angela. Iron Ox, you should be able to stall Angela by yourself, right? Wuji asked. After advancing to dark gold, Angela's attributes had obviously increased by a lot. However, Wuji still had confidence in Wang Yu's strength. After all, in the instance dungeon, Wang Yu had smashed Angela left and right with his two-handed sword. This kind of strange scene was not easily forgotten by normal people. Wang Yu switched his glove to the form of a tang sword, and then eagerly said, "Of course." Wang Yu had just upgraded his weapon, and was worried about not having a place to test it out. At this moment, in Wang Yu's eyes, Angela was already a monster that was about to die. Chapter 267. Reeks. After the 4 bosses brainwashed the monsters, a green light flashed and 30,000 monsters were all buff. It was a spectacular scene. Seeing the monsters on all sides close in, the Blood Alliance members who were in formation all used their buffs and raised their shields, getting into position and waiting for the monsters to attack. The group of monsters slowly closed in on the archers' attack range. Wuji gave an order in the guild channel, "Okay, let's go." At the same time, he gave an order in the guild channel, "Archers, cover us." With that, Wuji waved his staff and the 10 people from Chuanjin split into 4 groups. They left their positions and rushed towards the bosses. What do you mean cover? Hearing Wuji's order, the Blood Alliance members were stunned. There were so many monsters, it would be good if they could hold them off. Cover, what the hell? While everyone was stunned, the people from Chuanjin had already rushed into the group of monsters and started fighting with them. D*MN, are they looking to die? Everyone from Blood Alliance, including Blood Red War Flag, were stunned on the spot. Damn, there were tens of thousands of monsters. Even if they spread out their formation and surrounded them, there were still many of them. The monsters were level 35, high-leveled monsters. With the green light flashing on their bodies and the stats buff, no matter how good the people from Chuanjin were, they wouldn't be able to survive. However, what happened next shocked everyone from Blood Alliance. Not only were the people from Chuanjin not drowned by the monsters, but they also advanced step by step, stabbing towards the back of the monsters like a steel knife. So amazing, what are they thinking? Rebirth had been a game for quite some time now, and everyone had gradually familiarized themselves with the game's mode. Although it was no longer a privilege for experts to solo monsters above their level, it was still unimaginable for them to have the upper hand against so many monsters. Blood Red War Flag was so shocked that he couldn't speak. To be able to think of such a method, that Wuji is quite scary. Blood Red War Flag, who was more perceptive, had already seen some clues. What? Blood Red War Flag didn't understand. What did you see? Bloody Wind Whisper said, "Old Jean, haven't you noticed that there aren't many monsters fighting them? Is that so?" Blood Red War Flag looked in the direction of Wind Whisper's finger and looked in the direction of Chuanjin's team. Blood Red War Flag and Blood Red Wind Whisperer guarded the door on the left. The Chuanjin experts here were Mingdu and Yang Na. Just like what Bloody Wind Whisperer had said, the two of them had only fought against a dozen monsters. How can this be? There were so many monsters, but only a dozen or so were attacking. When Blood Red War Flag saw this strange scene, the hair on its back stood on end. Could it be sorcery? Evil my ass! Blood Wind Whisperer was covered in cold sweat as it explained, the monsters' battle line is too long and their formation is too weak. The size of a guild encampment was determined by the number of players in the guild. When Chuanjin was guarding the station, there were only 8 people, but the station occupied nearly 1/10 of Sunset Valley. Blood Alliance's guild leader had 500 people. A place that could accommodate 500 people and had all sorts of facilities was about the size of a small village. Venomous Snake Valley was flat and wide. Blood Alliance's encampment was right in the middle, occupying 1/5 of the area. Although the encampment was square, the monster's circle was circular. This meant that the length of the monster's battle line was the diagonal of Blood Alliance's encampment. Although there were many monsters attacking the encampment, with such a long battle line, the monster's encirclement was only 5 or 6 meters wide. For the monsters that covered the entire mountain, a 5 or 6 meter battle line was quite weak. Moreover, the monster's basic aggro was on the entrance of the encampment. So as long as Chuanjin didn't attack the monsters beside them, the monsters that would actually attack them would only be around a dozen monsters nearby. After Blood Red War Flag understood this, it couldn't help but exclaim, Chuanjin's people are brave. If it was someone else, their legs would probably turn to jelly. That's right. That's why I said that Wuji who came up with this idea is a genius. Blood Wind Whisperer sighed from the bottom of his heart. First, they did the exact opposite and didn't build the encampment according to the terrain. They extended the battle line and weakened the monster's circle to the minimum. Then, they used the monster's aggro as a bug to face the monster's head-on and not be at a disadvantage. Step by step, one linked to another. Although every step was risky, with the support of his teammates' powerful strength, he did not make any mistake. His grasp of the battle situation and his utilization of the strength of his subordinates were flawless. If not for the fact that he had been on the battlefield for a long time, he would not have had this kind of tactical attainment when fighting against many. So scary. Blood Wind Whisperer was someone who was very confident in his intelligence, but after seeing Wuji's plan, Blood Wind Whisperer's sense of superiority disappeared. Next, it should be to lure the boss out of the siege monster's formation. The Chuanjin people faced the siege monsters head-on and their goal was clear. Blood Wind Whisperer ordered in the team channel, Archers, use face fire to pull the monster's aggro. Don't attack the boss. The archers at the left gate received Blood Wind Whisperer's order and raised their bows to shoot, pulling the aggro of the monsters around Mingdu and Yang Na. The monsters that were accidentally hit quickly shifted their aggro to the encampment. Seeing that Blood Wind Whisperer had given the order, the commanders of the other 3 gates also gave the same order. This greatly reduced the pressure on the Chuanjin people. Wind Whisperer, you can do it. Wuji smiled faintly and replied in the team channel. Blood Wind Whisperer couldn't help but feel a sense of superiority after being praised by Wuji. Blood Wind Whisperer was confused and thought, damn, I've made this shameless guy my idol. At this moment, it wasn't just Blood Wind Whisperer who had this thought. Even the Blood Alliance players who scolded Wuji for being pretentious at the start had a sense of respect for the Chuanjin people. In the game, the strong were respected. If they couldn't do it, then others could. It was normal to have respect in their hearts. Moreover, Chuanjin dared to attack a large group of monsters with just 10 people. This made the Blood Alliance players' blood boil. It was as if they had been injected with chicken blood. From the initial fear, they became a little excited. As the saying goes, words are all talk and no action. It wasn't that there wasn't any effect in provoking them, but in the face of so many monsters, anger couldn't be eaten. The players were still a little lacking in confidence. At this moment, Chuanjian people took the lead and charged into the enemy's formation. This directly raised the confidence of the Blood Alliance players. Damn, we are all players, but they dared to charge into the army with just 10 people. Why should we be afraid when we have so many people? Chapter 268. Whether it was level, equipment, or skill, Chuanjian's people were the best in the game. They were just facing a dozen low AI monsters. With the Blood Alliance archers pulling the aggro, the pressure wasn't too high. The first to rush out and pull the boss out of the group was naturally Wang Yu. Fighters were more agile types. Wang Yu was strong and he was alone, so he didn't have to worry about his companions. He swung his staff and jumped into the group of monsters. His weapon form turned into the Heaven and Earth Blade. He waved it in midair and slashed it across Angela's face. Angela cried out in pain and threw a cloud of poison mist towards Wang Yu's direction. Wang Yu was very cunning. Before his body even landed on the ground, he saw the dark clouds above his head. His Heaven and Earth Blade turned into a long blade, and he stabbed it into the ground. He moved a few meters to the side and dodged the poison mist. In the game, attacking female monsters' faces would increase their aggro. In manual mode, the boss only had a choice of aggro, but the aggro wouldn't decrease. There was only Wang Yu here, so Angela had no other targets. She could only roar and charge towards Wang Yu. Wang Yu jumped up and used Collapsing Fist to charge out of the group of monsters. Angela followed closely behind. When she left the group of monsters, the green light on the monsters dimmed. When they reached the entrance of the encampment, the buff had already disappeared. The moment the monsters clashed with the Blood Alliance players, they finally experienced the beauty of Wuji's formation. The tanks protected the other classes behind them. The knight's spear stabbed out from the back of the shield, attacking and defending as one. They were like a war fortress. Compared to the usual square formation, the S formation had a wider range of monsters, and it just so happened that the monsters were within each player's attack range. This way, each class had their own responsibility to maximize the strength of all the players. In particular, the notch in the middle of the formation was a very treacherous output point. Any monster that entered that output point would suffer double the damage. Without the buff, the monster's strength dropped by half. Blood Alliance's 800 protector players were carefully chosen. Although they weren't all top experts, they were still elite. Under Wuji's formation, they easily blocked the monsters outside. The second team to break through the encirclement and pull the boss away was Chun Xiang's team. Chun Xiang's team had the most players. Other than Chun Xiang's powerful crowd control, there were also Chuanjian's 4 powerful damage output classes. There was no need to talk about Bao San. The equipment set that Wang Yu had forged for him not only had extremely high attack, but its defense was also close to Yin Lao Air's. What was worth mentioning was that the set came with the Draconic Aura skill, which had a special effect on beast-type monsters. Even if these snake monsters were higher level than Bao San, under the intimidation of the Draconic Aura, their defense and attack dropped by nearly 30%. This was an effect that no one expected. Famous Sword Dao Shui was a famous money player. He had top-quality equipment and rare skills. His explosive damage was very high, comparable to Wang Yu and Ming Du to place one's pride, because he had a foundation in martial arts and was also a fighter. He had received many pointers from Wang Yu. This kid's comprehension was not bad, and under Wang Yu's guidance, his strength increased by leaps and bounds. In Chuanjian, other than Wang Yu and Yang Na, basically no one dared to guarantee that they could beat him. North Siyu, this unlucky guy, had the lowest level in Chuanjian, but this kid had been through hundreds of battles and killed countless people. Whether it was PvE or PvP, his skills were very superb. After joining Chuanjian, North Siyu made a lot of money and bought a new set of equipment. Although it was not as good as other people in Chuanjian, compared to other players, it was still quite good. Chun Xiang's staff made a few gestures in the air and made a deployment. Everyone nodded. Bao San activated Whirlwind Slash and rushed into the enemy's formation, scattering the snake monster's vanguard. Stealth Quinton saw that his underlings were being attacked and immediately entered stealth. Seeing the stealth informant enter stealth, Chun Xiang turned into smoke and floated out of the encirclement from midair. To place one's pride rushed half a meter in front of Bao San. Famous sword Dao Shui and North Sea Yoyu also entered stealth. The assassin's stealth was not very useful in front of a boss that was higher than their own level. Stealth masters like lurkers could more easily see through the target's stealth. North Sea Yoyu's level was not high and was easily kicked out by the stealth informant. However, just as the stealth informant was about to attack, famous sword Dao Shui suddenly appeared behind the stealth informant. First, he stunned the stealth informant with a gouge. Then, he used a burst attack and took away a layer of the stealth informant's HP. As soon as the stealth informant's stun state was lifted, Bao San's arm came over and knocked the stealth informant back half a meter, landing in front of To Place One's Pride. To Place One's Pride jumped back and at the same time, he stretched out his right fist and grabbed the stealth informant's head. To Place One's Pride was very smart. With his skills, he naturally could not do the same as Wang Yu, borrowing strength to fight strength and throwing people with a knee strike. However, the monk's fierce tiger palm could also be grabbed. To Place One's Pride jumped back while grabbing people, pulling the stealth informant back half a meter. Coincidentally, the stealth informant was pulled out of the monster formation. Witnessing this scene, the Blood Alliance players were extremely shocked. These people from Chuanjin usually did not reveal their strength and were extremely low profile. However, at this moment, they were beating the boss like a volleyball. Their teamwork was so good that it was terrifying. However, as a manual mode boss, the stealth informant had 5 targets in front of it. Naturally, it would not foolishly chase To Place One's Pride. Instead, it turned around and rushed back into the formation. To Place One's Pride pulled the stealth informant out with great difficulty. However, the others did not let him do as he wished. To Place One's Pride had long since pulled the stealth informant. Before the stealth informant could turn around, Chun Xiang's darkness boundary had already been erected, locking the stealth informant in place. Then, Chun Xiang waved his staff and 6 imps appeared within the darkness boundary, surrounding the stealth informant. The stealth informant was knocked out of the formation and the monster buff at the back door gradually disappeared. The left door was relatively easier to break through. After all, the Viper General was a system mode boss. Once the aggro was stabilized, it would not let go of the player. Mingdu's agility was not high. Naturally, he did not dare to rush forward and seek death. Instead, he used his Thunder Spear to repel the monsters in front of him. Then, he took the lead and flashed out of the encirclement. Yang Na dodged the attacks of the monsters and moved forward. Once she was within Mingdu's attack range, Mingdu used Guardian Switch to switch positions with Yang Na. Yang Na landed outside of the encirclement, raised her crossbow, took aim, and shot the Viper General's eye. The Viper General shook its head and chased after her without hesitation. Yang Na retreated as she fought, luring the Viper General away. Without the boss battle formation, the monster's stats were greatly reduced. Mingdu was bold enough to set them on fire and then used Fire Arrow. The small monster only had around 10,000 HP. It had just taken one of Bright Dou's Thunder Spears, and now it had to endure 2 skills. Bright Dou immediately blasted an opening in its encirclement. Bright Dou then calmly walked out of the encirclement. At the same time, at the right door of the encirclement, 2 golden lights shot into the sky. Then, a system notification appeared. Illusionary Snake Boss has been killed. Chapter 269. D*MN, what is going on? Seeing the news of the illusionary snake being killed, the Blood Alliance players were so shocked that their hands shook. They almost threw their skills at their own people. Wuji and Yin Lao Air were not damage output classes. The reason why they were able to block the boss was because of Yin Lao Air's endurance and Wuji's healing. As for damage output, it was all thanks to the Blood Alliance archers. From the start of the monster attack until now, only a few minutes had passed. In some places, the monsters hadn't even reached the entrance yet. In such a short period of time, a boss had actually died. Was there a bug in the system? Even the people on Xuanzhen's side were stunned. Everyone was guessing. Could it be that Wuji had tricked the boss into committing suicide? Not bad, Wuji. Did you do something immoral to the boss and disgust the boss to death? Mingdu asked in the guild channel. Ha ha! Wuji laughed proudly. He didn't answer Mingdu's question and instead mocked. You bunch of noobs, your efficiency can't even compare to us, the two with the lowest attack power. F*CKU. You must have used some bug to kill the boss. That boss only had 5,000 HP, what are you showing off for? Xuanzhen's group were all experts. In front of Wang Yu, they could just lower their heads. After all, other than his mechanics, Wang Yu's stats were also higher than theirs. However, priests and shield-bearers were support classes. With these two classes together, no matter how skilled they were, their efficiency would still be terrible. Therefore, in terms of efficiency, they were suppressed by Wuji and Yin Lao Air. Of course, they were unhappy. Haha, you bunch of noobs. Wuji continued to be proud. Wang Yu saw that Wuji was being too pretentious and reminded him in a small voice, "It's about time. The method to kill the illusionary snake is my own creation. Do you really think that others don't know about it?" In reality, it wasn't just Wang Yu. There were also a dozen or so people from the Blood Alliance who knew about it. Is that for real? Hearing this, everyone became even more curious. Just what kind of strange technique could have instantly killed the boss? Could it be a legendary secret technique? Considering Wang Yu's identity, this was not impossible. That's right. Haha, one of the bosses committed suicide, Wuji laughed. Everyone was speechless. Damn, he really committed suicide. And Wuji smiled as he explained how he had instructed Yin Lao Air to kill the boss. When everyone heard this, they immediately said in disdain, "Damn, the internal boss is too much." Yin Lao Air also laughed wretchedly. The boss isn't important. What's important is the experience. Experience? Everyone was startled and asked, "What experience?" "Look at our levels," Wuji said. Levels. When everyone heard this, they all opened the guild channel to look at their levels. They saw that Wuji and Yin Lao Air's levels were marked at 24. Everyone couldn't help but cry out, "Io, what's going on? Did you open the modifier?" Although Rebirth was a game that was split into many regions, everyone was in the same world. Even if a new server was opened in the future, it wouldn't be independent. In order to prevent the gap between the old players and the new players from becoming too big, the leveling process in this game was rather slow. Especially after level 20, the experience needed to level up had skyrocketed. When players were level 10, they only needed a few 100,000 experience to level up. Now they needed a few million. This level of cheating was enough to make people curse. After players reached level 15, the fastest way to gain experience was through dungeons. However, a single dungeon trip would only give around 500,000 experience. Even if it was a hell mode dungeon, with a completion rate of 100%, the dungeon would only give 2 million experience. Moreover, there was a limit to the number of times the dungeon could be used. Therefore, after everyone reached level 20, even if they were machine maniacs, they would at most level up once a day. Although the illusionary snake was a gold boss, it was only level 35. The experience it gave was only around 200,000. It was impossible for the two of them to directly level up. However, both Wuji and Yin Lao Air had actually directly leveled up 3 times. This speed was simply unimaginable. Wuji curled his lips and said, "Bullsh *T modifier. We're currently helping someone else defend their encampment. We're killing monsters to give honorary experience. So that's how honorary experience is. Everyone was a high-level player. Although the term honorary experience was unfamiliar to them, the meaning behind it wasn't hard to understand. Defending a guild's encampment and killing monsters in the encampment would not only give experience, but also points. Killing a small monster would give 2 points, assisting a player would give 1 point. After successfully defending the encampment, the players would be rewarded according to their points. The top 10 players would also receive a special reward. The people from Chuanjin had all experienced this before, so they naturally understood it. However, the people from Chuanjin were only helpers hired by the Blood Alliance. They didn't belong to the Blood Alliance at all. Therefore, when they killed the monsters here, they wouldn't receive any point rewards. In order to compensate, the system created a so-called honorary experience. The specific conversion was, 1 point was equivalent to 10,000 honorary experience. Therefore, as long as a player wasn't a member of the Blood Alliance, as long as they killed a monster, they would receive a large amount of honorary experience. The illusionary snake boss was one of the bosses that led the team. After Wuji and Yin Lao Er worked together to kill the illusionary snake, they each received 10 million honorary experience. This was why their levels increased so much. Wuji and Yin Lao Er didn't have much damage, so it was difficult for them to obtain points. After this battle, other than killing a boss, they probably wouldn't be able to obtain any more points. However, the other people from Chuanjin had high damage. After knowing about the term honorary experience, they were naturally tempted. The frequency of their attacks also increased. Unfortunately, the remaining bosses were all big bulls with hundreds of thousands of HP. They definitely wouldn't be like that useless illusionary snake, who could be killed so easily. Therefore, it wasn't something that could be done casually if he wanted to kill them. However, Wuji's arrangements completely catered to the strengths of the people from Chuanjin. The boss was completely suppressed. At this time, even if they couldn't kill the boss, it was still easy to stall them. Without the boss buff, the difficulty of defending the encampment was greatly reduced. After killing the first wave of monsters, the people from Blood Alliance tasted the sweetness of victory. The experience of killing monsters above their level was extremely exciting. Moreover, the people from the Blood Alliance's main guild had points as rewards. The people from the subsidiary guilds also had honorary experience as rewards. This made the people from Blood Alliance even more motivated. The monsters attacking the encampment fell in batches, turning into experience and points. Seeing this scene, Blood Red Warflag's heart was as happy as a flower. If nothing unexpected happened, Blood Alliance's encampment could be considered to have been defended. These 6,000 gold coins were really well spent. Time passed second by second. Half an hour later, the system sent out a message. Boss Viper General has been killed. All monsters attacking the encampment have their attack increased by 30. Their attack has a 10% chance of ignoring defense. Chapter 270. The Viper General was a straightforward boss and didn't know how to think. It wasn't easy for it to last until now against a guy like Mingdu, who was full of evil tricks. After all, with Yang Na holding the Viper General back, Mingdu could freely deal damage. Moreover, the Viper General's weakness after going berserk was something that Wuji had already told the two of them. Mingdu and Yang Na's attack and accuracy weren't low. Moreover, the Viper General's magic resistance was too low, so they were the first to kill the boss after Wuji and Yin Lao Er. The Viper General was a warrior and paladin dual-class boss. It dropped a set of armor and a set of bracers, which were both warrior and paladin equipment. Bao San and Yin Lao Er had just changed their equipment sets and couldn't use them, so Mingdu and Yang Na gave them one each. This made Blood Red War Flag drool. However, it was agreed that the equipment belonged to Chuanjin's members. Even if Blood Red War Flag bled, it wouldn't matter. The points for helping other guilds defend their base were split evenly. After killing the boss, Mingdu and Yang Na both received 10 million experience and leveled up to level 24. Then, the two returned to the base under the cover of Mingdu's firepower and joined the defense formation. Mingdu's temper was so bad that he would even kill his own people, let alone outsiders. He first laid down a firewall and rubbed it against all the monsters. Then, he hid in the crowd, and when a monster's HP was low, he would kill it with a lightning strike. It was clean and tidy, and his experience rose quickly. This caused the Blood Alliance members to feel depressed. This skill was just too disgusting. However, since Mingdu was invited, they couldn't turn against him on the spot, so they all rolled their eyes at Mingdu. Mingdu, is this not good? Yang Na couldn't bear to watch Mingdu's shamelessness. Mingdu nodded and said, "It's a bit bad." As he spoke, Mingdu waved his staff and threw out a fire arrow sky strike, instantly killing all the monsters in front of him that had been hit by the archers. "That should be enough," Mingdu said with a smile. Yang Na was speechless for a while. Then, she wiped off her cold sweat and said, "You stay here by yourself. I'll go to the other door." Yang Na was really afraid that the crowd would get angry and dismember Mingdu. At that time, she would also be affected. At this time, the system issued another notification. The boss concealment has been killed. All siege monsters' attack power increased by 30. Their attacks have a 10% chance to deal a critical strike. The lurker was an assassin-type boss, and it was a humanoid boss. This type of boss didn't have high HP and was susceptible to crowd control. Chun Xiang and the others also had an anti-stealth item called lime powder. With the lime powder, the lurker became traceable. Then, Chun Xiang commanded the 6 little ghosts to surround the lurker and restrict its range of movement. A thief without stealth was not a thief, and an assassin whose movement was restricted was not an assassin. After Chun Xiang reduced the lurker's speed, the assassin took turns using gouge to assist in crowd control. Then, all sorts of explosive damage was dealt. The lurker tried to escape a few times, but was knocked back by 3 Bao's arm. To place one's pride caught it and let it enter Chun Xiang's barrier. Thus, it was once again crowd-controlled by Chun Xiang. In the end, the lurker didn't cause any trouble. It was easily taken down by the 5 players, and dropped 2 skill books and 2 daggers. Dual Mastery, rare skill. After learning, the user can wield a weapon with both hands. The secondary weapon is 60 times that of the left hand. Class requirement, Assassin. Enhanced Stealth, rare skill. After learning, stealth increases by 30%. Class requirement, Thief. The 2 daggers were part of a set. Poison of Despair attack. 50-67 mana. 3-4-5-8-1-0 agility 4 strength poison. Passive skill. 30% chance to deal poison damage. Set of Despair Poison of Despair 11 Fang of Despair 01 Set Attribute Snake of Despair. Attack increases. Sting of Despair. Critical Strike increases special attribute. Desperate Strike. Burns the user's life force to deal magic damage equal to 1.5% of the user's HP. Fang of Despair attack. 67-82 mana. 2-2-3-4-1-0 Strength 4 Agility Parry. Active skill. Blocks 30% of damage. Set of Despair Poison of Despair 01 Fang of Despair 11 Set Attribute Snake of Despair. Attack increases. Sting of Despair. Critical Strike increases special attribute. Desperate Strike. Burns the user's life force to deal magic damage equal to 1.5% of the user's HP. Dual Mastery and this Despair set were part of a set. Famous Sword Daoshua's daggers weren't any worse than this set, so he chose to enhance stealth and gave the Dual Mastery and daggers to Baimingyu. At this time, Famous Sword Daoshua's stealth had been enhanced to 60%. At this stage of the game, there probably weren't any monsters that could see through his stealth. Baimingyu originally walked the path of a violent thief. Now that she had Dual Mastery and the Despair set, her damage output was greatly increased. She was already not much weaker than famous sword Daoxue. At this time, 3 of the bosses that attacked the encampment had been killed. Apart from the illusionary snake, the other 2 bosses dropped buffs on the monsters after they died. The work of guarding the encampment was starting to become difficult. The increase in attack actually didn't pose much of a problem to the players. The difficult part was the 2 attributes of defense break and critical strike. If it was just one of these attributes, the players could still withstand it. However, with both attributes, defense break and critical strike, and the level suppression of the monsters, the Blood Alliance's frontline tanks were being beaten up badly. Luckily, the clerics had enough, so the monsters wouldn't be able to attack them for a while. However, with the depletion of supplies, they wouldn't be able to last for long. There were already casualties at the main entrance. Luckily, the players could revive in the middle of the guard quest. Otherwise, the main entrance would probably have already been lost. After advancing to Dark Gold, Angela's attributes had nearly doubled. Her intelligence had also increased quite a bit. Although Wang Yu had changed his weapon, he was still alone. In a situation where he was fighting a boss alone, the other bosses had already been killed. Angela's HP was only slightly over half. Wang Yu had experience dealing with Angela before, so it was relatively easy. Killing her was just a matter of time. 10 minutes later, Angela's HP finally dropped to around 30%. The situation at the main entrance was getting worse and worse. After the players at the main entrance suffered casualties, the commander, Blood Azura, didn't organize the formation in time. As a result, the cone formation was broken by the monsters, and the gate was in danger. At this time, a sudden scream rang through Venomous Snake Valley. Then, all the monsters crawled on the ground in a submissive posture and stopped attacking. Immediately after, a giant python appeared in front of Wang Yu. Chapter 271. The giant snake was huge. It was 7 to 8 meters long and a meter thick. When it stood up, it was as tall as a 2-story building. On the snake's back, 7 inches away, there was a stone pillar with runes on it. It looked like it had grown thorns. Wang Yu hurriedly cast a detect spell on it. Snake King, Angela, 40 Dark Gold Elite Strength, 237841 Strength, 48562 Skills, Poisonous Breath, Light of Death, Poisonous Fangs, Stone Forest. Status: Snake King Scale Armor, immune to damage. Seeing Angela's stats, Wang Yu cursed the system for being shameless. Wang Yu had seen the other skills before. Although they weren't weak, they weren't that bad if they couldn't hit anyone. However, Angela's status was actually immune to damage. It was invincible. How was he supposed to fight it? While Wang Yu was still in a daze, Angela swung its head and pounced over. Angela's head was as big as a car, and its swinging and pouncing had a range of 5 to 6 meters. Upon seeing this, Wang Yu hurriedly used Bursting Fist to dodge to the side, avoiding Angela's ferocious smash. But before Wang Yu could land on the ground, a circle of stone pillars suddenly rose from the ground. It was like a cage, trapping Wang Yu in place. Then, Angela aimed its head at Wang Yu and opened its huge mouth. The two were separated by 5 to 6 meters, but Wang Yu could already feel Angela's dangerous aura. In shock, he used Night Jump. With a flash of white light, he jumped back another 5 meters. Wang Yu had just stabilized himself when he saw Angela spit out a cloud of grayish-green poisonous fog, covering the stone cage. The poisonous fog dissipated, and a large pit was formed on the ground from the corrosion. F***ck, Wang Yu wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. The poisonous fog was too strong. If he was hit directly, he would be instantly killed. Seeing that Wang Yu wasn't dead, Angela shook its head and pounced at him again. Although Angela was huge and didn't even have feet, it was as if she had cheats. Her speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, she was in front of Wang Yu. Angela's attack range was too large. At this moment, Wang Yu only had 2 movement skills that he could use to escape its attack range, and they were still in progress. Seeing that Angela's head was about to hit Wang Yu gritted her teeth helplessly and used a roll to roll forward. When python-like animals used their heads to attack the enemy, the neck between the brain and the body would naturally form an arch. This rebirth was done very well and was very realistic. Wang Yu's roll coincidentally flipped to the arched position and escaped the fate of being crushed to death by the snake. Angela, who had missed for the second time, flew into a rage. She turned her head, flipped her tail, and rolled her entire body to use a crushing attack. Too shameless! Wang Yu was in tears. As expected of an elite, she could even use such a shameless move like throwing a tantrum and rolling. Angela's body was huge. With a twist of her body, her head and tail connected, and her entire body rolled 360 degrees without any blind spots. Wang Yu supported himself with his staff and jumped out of Angela's encirclement. Other than Angela, Wang Yu hadn't seen anyone else who could use an encirclement attack in a one-on-one fight. Angela seemed to have expected this. Her head had been waiting for Wang Yu in the air. Before Wang Yu could retract his staff, Angela bit him again. Wang Yu subconsciously used his staff and hit Angela's chin. The scales on Angela's chin were soft, almost like her skin. After being hit by Wang Yu, Angela felt pain and tilted her head back. On the other hand, Wang Yu was sent flying by Angela's huge strength. Even his chi barrier was destroyed. One could see how fierce Angela's attack was. However, what made Wang Yu happy was that the staff wasn't completely immune. It could be seen that the attack was still effective. Just as Wang Yu was being chased by Angela, the Blood Alliance guards were in chaos. After Angela's King of Snake State came out, the system notified that the snake monster's fighting spirit had increased by 100. The system's data was constant, so fighting spirit was useless to players. At most, it would stop them from being afraid, but it wouldn't increase their strength. However, it was different for monsters. They were creatures of this world and enjoyed the rules of this world. 100 fighting spirit caused all the monsters' attack to increase by 100. Correspondingly, their defense also decreased. In a battle like this, defense was practically negligible. However, the sudden increase in attack power caused the already precarious defending players to collapse and retreat back to the encampment. Meanwhile, the snake monsters began to attack the encampment's entrance in a frenzy. The snake monster's attack had increased by so much, so the gate definitely wouldn't last long. After receiving the news that the gate had fallen, blood-red war flag's hair stood on end. One had to know that the reason why everyone was able to block the monster's attacks, apart from Wuji's formation, was because of the gate. The gate was like a water inlet and the players outside were like a plug. Once the plug was broken, the water would flow in continuously and attack the guild crystal. When that happened, Blood Alliance would be facing them head-on. As for the consequences, they could even imagine it with their toes. Wuji, it's not good. The gate has fallen. After receiving the news, Blood Red War Flag contacted Wuji. Blood Red War Flag's actions made the core members of Blood Red Alliance unhappy, but there was nothing they could do. In this situation, they had no choice. It was normal for Blood Red War Flag to place their hopes on the crafty Wuji. We're on our way. Wuji saw that the team was in a mess and knew that something had happened at the gate. He gathered everyone from Chuanjin and rushed to the gate. When they arrived at the gate, Blood Alliance's mages and archers were standing on top of the wall and attacking. The other classes were hiding behind the gate, helpless against the snake monsters that were about to attack. Open the gate. Wuji pointed at the gate. The commander at the gate, Blood Shura, was shocked. Boss Wuji, stop joking. Once the gate opens, we're all dead. Wuji glared at Blood Shura. Do I look like I'm joking? But once the gate opens, the monsters will come in. Blood Shura's expression was troubled. Listen to my command. Wuji pointed at the gate. Shield warriors, raise your shields. Knights, behind you. Cross each other in a row. I'll count to 321 to open the gate. Then everyone will charge out. Warlocks follow. The snake monster's attack is too high. Tanks won't be able to last more than a few rounds. There's no point in charging out. Blood Shura said. Wuji said, stop talking nonsense. If I say it's useful, then it's useful. Does anyone have an Oga beast? To be continued. Chapter 272. Crimson Shura's worries were not without reason. A warrior's charge followed by a paladin's two-charge wasn't a very advanced technique. Any commander who had fought in a team battle would know how to use it. Crimson Shura had already organized charge a few times, but now that they were at the gates, the snake monster's attack power was beyond imagination. If the front line couldn't stop them, it would be useless even if they charged. It was no different from suicide. At this time, Wuji was the overall commander and couldn't ignore his words. Helpless, Crimson Shura could only bite the bullet and open the gates. Once the gates opened, all the snake monsters rushed in desperately. Under Wuji's command, the Blood Alliance players pushed the incoming monsters away. Then, they used Shield Bash to stun the monsters. Then, the Shield Warriors raised their shields and blocked the entrance. There were flying snakes among the monsters. If they tried to fly into the encampment, they would be instantly killed by the archers behind them. Frontline tanks stand in a cone formation. Warlocks prepare to throw out Darkness Ward. Wuji ordered the Warlocks. After receiving Wuji's command, the Warlocks were confused. The Warlock's Dark Barrier had a 3-second cooldown. At this time, they were in a phalanx formation. The priests could not keep up with the healing. 3 seconds was enough for the frontline tanks to be bitten to death. Although they didn't understand Wuji's intentions, they still obediently threw out Darkness Ward. After receiving Wang Yu's order, the frontline tanks hurriedly retreated and returned to their previous positions in the cone formation. At this time, the monsters also recovered from their stunned state and pounced forward again. Seeing this, the tanks were shocked. They were well aware of the attack power of these monsters. A few hits from these monsters could claim their lives. Just as they were about to retreat, Spring Source Darkness Ward appeared out of thin air and covered the frontline shield warrior. At the same time, it stopped a few monsters that were about to pounce. Divine Judgment. Everyone was shocked. Darkness Ward had a very long cooldown. To be able to stop the monsters so accurately, this person's judgment was really amazing. The rest of the monsters spread out and charged towards the two sides. 20 dark boundaries rose from the ground and surrounded everyone tightly. The snake monsters at the front were all locked in place. After controlling the monster, everyone finally had some breathing space. Move forward. 1-2-1. At this tense moment, Wuji's next order almost made everyone spit blood. Damn it, at such a serious time, Wuji, as the commander-in-chief, actually played the role of a sports committee member. Damn it, it made people feel like they were out of character. Wuji had no choice. This was the first time the Blood Alliance members were in this formation, and they were all unfamiliar with it. It was not practical for them to use this formation to attack, and it was very likely that the formation that they had painstakingly gathered would be broken. After the formation was reassembled, the situation finally stabilized. However, when Wuji saw the situation on Wang Yu's side, his mood darkened. Angela, who had transformed into a giant python, was no longer that delicate little girl. She was like a bulldozer, chasing after Wang Yu, smashing and crushing him. She had had enough of being a strength-type boss. Wang Yu could only rely on his agility to jump up and down, looking extremely pathetic. Wang Yu was truly suffering. After transforming, Angela was in an invincible state. No matter how Wang Yu slashed or smashed, he was unable to do anything. What was even more tragic was that Wang Yu's kung fu had always been effective against humans and wild beasts. However, against this kind of behemoth that relied on strength, other than the leaping and twisting movements, all other moves were useless. After all, when the ancestors of the Wang family created Kung Fu, they had never seen such a monster. This boss is too overpowered. Chuanjin could not help but exclaim when they saw Angela chasing after Wang Yu. After playing the game for so long, they had only seen Wang Yu abuse the boss. They had never seen a boss abuse Wang Yu. The overpowered one is Boss Iron Ox, okay? He can still hold the boss in this situation, Blood Shura said with admiration. Chuanjin's members looked at Blood Shura in unison and thought to themselves, "You still don't know enough about that guy. I'll go and help him." Yang Na volunteered and stood up. Although Wang Yu and Angela could not do anything to each other, it was not a good thing to continue like this. If Wang Yu made a mistake and was bitten by Angela, it would be over for him. Players like Chuanjin, who were not from the Blood Alliance, could not be revived. After the defensive formation was broken, some people retreated from the battlefield. Chuanjin's people had to hold their positions to regroup. "All right, be careful." Wuji nodded. Angela was a level 40 Dark Gold boss. At the current stage of the game, it was not an exaggeration to call her a mythical beast. Without dozens or hundreds of people, no one would dare to attack her. Even a freak like Wang Yu was suppressed to the point of not being able to retaliate. Other than Yang Na, no one else would be able to do anything. "Mingdu, lead the way." Wuji turned his head and said to Mingdu. Mingdu had already rushed to the front of the team without any sense of discipline. He shouted, "Bro, I'll give you guys something exciting." Then, a wave of fire arrows descended from the sky. Is this a fire arrow? Why is it different from before?" Mingjian Daoshui was a meticulous person and immediately saw the change in Mingdu's spell. What was different from the previous fire arrows was that Mingdu's fire arrow had a blue glow around it. "That's right, this is called heavenly fire lightning." Wahahaha! Mingdu laughed. The fire arrow landed and the ground was covered in blue lightning. The snakes convulsed and turned into white light. The monster formation was blown apart. F***ck, that's crazy. Chuanjin's people were shocked. They did not expect Mingdu to have such a trick up his sleeve. To place one's pride said unhappily, "You bastard, how did you become so strong?" "Of course, it's a hidden subclass," Mingdu said proudly. "Tch," Wuji said with disdain, "you can't learn level 30 chain lightning anymore?" "How did you know?" Mingdu was shocked. "Aren't all hidden subclasses like this?" Wuji asked. When Chuanjin's people heard that Mingdu could not learn level 30 skills, they felt a little better. But this skill was so strong, what difference would it make if he did not learn chain lightning? Yang Na took the opportunity to escape the encirclement and arrived near Wang Yu and Angela. "Come here." Wang Yu saw Yang Na and quickly shouted. Yang Na was slightly stunned. She thought to herself, "Is he trying to harm me?" It seemed that Wang Yu had tricked her once, and she would remember it for the rest of her life. While Yang Na was stunned, Angela turned around and rushed over. At the same time, she spat out a large cloud of poisonous fog. Yang Na was shocked and hurriedly dodged. At the same time, she shot an arrow at Angela's head. 887A number floated out from Angela's snake head. Chapter 273. Damage? Wang Yu saw the numbers floating above Angela's head and asked Yang Na in surprise, "What skill did you use?" "I didn't use any skills. It was just a random attack." As Yang Na spoke, a beam of light shot out from Angela's head, almost killing Yang Na on the spot. "Come to me," Wang Yu shouted anxiously. At this time, Yang Na had already experienced the strength of a level 40 Dark Gold boss. She did not dare to be careless and quickly dodged to the front of Wang Yu. After Yang Na arrived in front of Wang Yu, Angela began to shake her head and tail again. She did not use Toxic Breath and Light of Death anymore. Without these two skills that covered a large area, dodging Angela's pure physical attacks was not a difficult task for the two kung fu experts. "That's strange. Why isn't she using her magic skills?" Yang Na asked Wang Yu curiously. Wang Yu pointed to Angela's head as he dodged. We are below her head. This is a skill blind spot. Magic can't cover it. Blind spot? Yang Na mumbled thoughtfully. That's right. Her skills are all about spitting forward, not down, Wang Yu explained. I know that. But when you said blind spot, I suddenly remembered that my arrow seemed to have hit Angela's eyes, Yang Na said. Eyes. Hearing Yang Na's words, Wang Yu's mind flashed. The Snake King's scale armor was immune to damage. In other words, didn't it mean that areas that were not covered by the scale armor were immune to damage? F***ck. I was almost fooled by the system's word game again. Thinking of this, Wang Yu said to Yang Na, continue to shoot her eyes. That's a blind spot, Yang Na said. At this time, the two of them were directly below Angela's head. A snake's eyes grew on both sides. If Yang Na wanted to accurately shoot Angela's eyes, she would have to turn her arrow. Moreover, Angela's eyelids were covered by the scale armor. With this lesson, she would definitely be prepared. Moreover, the accuracy of a target with such small eyes would definitely be low. Other than her eyes, there should be other places that are not covered by her scales, right? Wang Yu pondered for a moment and said, Do you think this fellow is a female snake? Does her but have? Before Wang Yu could finish speaking, Yang Na raised her crossbow and shot towards Wang Yu. At this time, Wang Yu and Yang Na were only about 2 meters apart. Wang Yu was distracted dodging Angela's attack, and did not expect Yang Na to suddenly attack. Unable to dodge in time, Wang Yu was shot in the front teeth by Yang Na. F***ck. What do you want to do? Wang Yu was shocked and asked while covering his mouth. Yang Na coldly stared at Wang Yu and said, If you tell me dirty jokes again, I won't be aiming at your front teeth next time. Wang Yu was sweating profusely. He really did not mean that, but Yang Na's action made Wang Yu think of a place that was not covered by the scale armor. Then can you shoot Angela's mouth? Wang Yu asked Yang Na. I can shoot, but I have to wait until she opens her mouth. Yang Na looked at Angela's big mouth and said, But this seems a little troublesome. There were only 2 situations when Angela opened her mouth. The first was to use her poisonous fangs to bite the target, and the second was to use her poisonous breath on the target in front of her. Wang Yu and Yang Na were standing in a blind spot. In a situation where Angela could not see the two of them, they could only throw a tantrum and roll around. They could not use their skills at all. If they wanted to lure Angela to use her skills, they had to run to the attack range of Angela's skill. Poisonous fangs were physical attack. From the start of the attack to the moment it reached the target, there was always a process. The two of them could use their movement skills to dodge the attack, but this poisonous breath was not easy to dodge. Poisonous breath covered an 800-yard area. Moreover, there was also an 800-yard skill called Death's Ray as a backup. If not for the Chi guard protecting him, even with Wang Yu's skills, he would have been instantly killed. If it was just 1 or 2 times, Wang Yu would be able to dodge it with her 2 movement skills. However, Angela still had over 200,000 HP, and Wang Yu's skill tank could not keep up. If she tried to bait Angela into casting her skills, it would be no different from suicide. After all, Wang Yu was only level 22. His opponent was a level 40 dark gold boss in manual mode. No matter how strong the boss was, it could not be stronger than the system settings. I have an idea, but I don't know if it'll work. Wang Yu mumbled. Yang Na said, Since you have an idea, let's try it. We can't just keep wasting time like this. Alright, wait here. I'll give it a try. Wang Yu nodded. He took out a crooked broken sword from his bag, and threw it with all his might. As Angela could not see Wang Yu and Yang Na, she could not attack the two of them. She was in a very bad mood. Suddenly, she saw a black shadow fly out from under her. Without thinking, she opened her mouth and spat out a cloud of poisonous fangs. Wang Yu hid under Angela's head. When he saw the poisonous fangs, He was overjoyed. He extended his arms and used his staff to pull himself up from the ground. He flew right in front of Angela's head. Seeing this, Angela opened her mouth to bite Wang Yu. Wang Yu rolled forward in midair and jumped into Angela's mouth. Then, he took out a two-handed greatsword that was nearly 1.5 meters long from his bag and placed it in the middle of Angela's mouth. Fortunately, they were in the game and had a bag system. If it were in real life, there was no way he could hide such a long greatsword in his bag. Angela's mouth was stuck by the two-handed greatsword before it could close. F***ck. Yang Na could not help but scream. No wonder Wang Yu was so hesitant when he had an idea. It turned out to be such a terrible idea. Fortunately, this terrible idea really worked. The feeling of having her upper and lower jaws stuck was quite uncomfortable. Angela immediately cried out in pain. Her head shook left and right, and at the same time, she released a death ray. This beast was obviously mad at Wang Yu. At this moment, Wang Yu was in her mouth. How could the death ray hit Wang Yu? While Angela was in pain, Wang Yu lay in Angela's mouth. He switched his weapon to the universe blade form and stabbed Angela's tongue. Every attack dealt about 10,000 damage. It seemed that Angela's mouth was indeed the boss's breakthrough point. The damage was actually so high. After stabbing about a dozen times, Wang Yu calculated that Angela's skills were off cooldown. He then rolled over and crawled out of Angela's mouth. After landing, Wang Yu pointed at Angela's mouth and said to Yang Na, who was looking at him with disdain, "All right, it's your turn to attack." Chapter 274. Recommended reading? Angela's head was the size of a car in its anaconda state, and its mouth alone was 2 meters long. At this time, Angela's mouth was opened by the two-handed sword, and it was like an open engine hood, making it a huge target. Yang Na was right below Angela, and they were very close. Even if Angela kept moving its head, even a blind man would probably be able to hit such a huge target. Yang Na's Holy Demon crossbow had a total of 4 attributes. Holy Dragon's Might to suppress beast-type monsters, Demonic Dragon's Strike to cripple, Fire Dragon's Flame to burn, and Holy's special damage against darkness-type monsters. These 4 attributes all suppressed Angela, and Angela's mouth was a vital point, so it had a 300 damage bonus. Each of Yang Na's arrows dealt around 3,500 damage to Angela. Her attack power wasn't high compared to Wang Yu's, but the main attribute of the archer class was agility. They relied on attack speed to make a living. Yang Na's crossbow was extremely fast. Wang Yu also pulled out her musket and fired from the side from time to time. Not long after, Angela's health bar was finally emptied and she dropped a bunch of items. Wang Yu and Yang Na's bodies continuously shone with golden light. As the main boss of this encampment, Angela was not only of a higher rank, but also gave twice as many points as the other bosses, a total of 5,000 points. Converted to Glory EXP, Wang Yu and Yang Na each received 25 million points, and Wang Yu directly jumped to level 26. Yang Na, on the other hand, had jumped to level 27, a huge leap. The leaderboard was updated in real time. The current leader was around level 20, and Wang Yu was level 22, which was the number 1 player in the server. The players in the 7th server were originally shocked by the sudden appearance of a bunch of 24 players on the leaderboard, but the sudden appearance of Wang Yu and Yang Na left everyone dumbfounded. Damn, is there an error in the system? Wasn't Iron Ox level 22? How did he suddenly jump to level 26? That's nothing. The number 1 player, Qingxue, jumped from level 20 to level 27 twice. She must have used a bug in the system or something. Damn, it's still possible. This won't do, I have to report it. Chuanjin's sudden jump in levels caused a sensation among the players. It also caused the players to report the incident, which eventually alerted the system server. How is it possible to jump 7 levels in one go? The customer service staff received the players' reports and immediately reported it to their superiors. Soon, it was reported to the supervisory group. F***CK. What are those people's tus? Hurry up and lock onto them. The members of the monitoring group hurriedly took action. It seems to be the group from Chuanjin, said the staff responsible for collecting bugs. Chuanjin often made big news, and even the staff of the monitoring team were familiar with them. Is Chuanjin that iron ox again? The person in charge of the supervisory group asked. It's him. When he and an archer were guarding the encampment, they killed the Snake King, Angela. The inspection team was very efficient, and they had already figured out the whole story. Isn't the Snake King Angela a level 40 independent mode dark gold boss? That iron ox is only level 20, right? The person in charge asked in surprise. Yes, this is the surveillance screen. The staff switched the screen to the time when Wang Yu and Yang Na killed Angela. The person in charge looked at the two people jumping up and down to avoid Angela's attacks, and his expression became more and more gloomy, especially when he saw Wang Yu stab his two-handed sword into Angela's mouth. He was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Damn, this kid is the nemesis of us bosses. Yeah, right? You know the Dragonblood Spear God, right? He killed him. It was even more exciting than this, the staff said with lingering fear. Sigh, if the boss is killed, then so be it. Let's hope that item doesn't fall into his hands. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome. The person in charge's face was gloomy. Garrison tokens were also divided into different levels. Sunset Valley was a basic garrison, and it was suitable for players around level 20 to guard. Garrison tokens of a difficulty like Venomous Serpent Valley were usually used by large guilds for leveling quests. Who would have thought that there would be people with brain damage to guard such a place? Now that Angela had been killed, it wouldn't be long before the garrison was successfully guarded. There really were hidden dragons and crouching tigers among the players. As expected of a dark gold boss, the Snake King Angela dropped 7 or 8 good items. Thorn of Despair 18-inch Uncle Nyo, this is mine. To place one's pride almost jumped in joy when he saw the shard. At this moment, he almost ran to Wang Yu and kowtowed to Wang Yu. I know it's yours. Wang Yu casually passed the Shard of Despair to place one's pride, then picked up the second piece of equipment. Angela's Staff of Sacrifice attack. Magic. Greater than 16 intelligence 16 spirit sacrifice. Passive skill, effect increased by 30 awe of nature. Passive skill, cast speed increased by 30 source of life. Active skill, absorb the target's HP and convert it to your own HP, source of all things. Active skill, when the skill is activated, 3 maximum HP is converted into spell strength, and every 2 MP can absorb 1 point of damage. Status: deactivated class requirement, Priest, Mage level requirement, 25 equipment introduction, originally the personal weapon of the High Priest Angela. After the Angela family was cursed, Angela lost control of the force of nature. What a strong staff! Yang Na couldn't help but exclaim when she saw the staff. Increased spell strength and spell strength were both attributes that mages dreamed of. However, in front of the staff's final skill, these two attributes were nothing special at all. A regular mage or priest would have more than 3,000 HP at the current stage. 3 maximum HP for spell strength meant almost 100 points of magic attack. It was equivalent to equipping an additional piece of exquisite equipment. What was even more frightening was that 2 MP could absorb 1 point of damage. In other words, with this staff, mages would have an additional 1,500 HP. At the current stage, tanks only had around 3,000 HP. Wasn't mages being able to take so much damage going against common sense? Yang Na wasn't the only one who was shocked. The experienced and knowledgeable experts from the Quan Zhen sect also revealed looks of envy. It went without saying that the people from the Blood Alliance were drooling. However, they could only watch. P.S. It's so late again. Good night, everyone. I didn't think that the word verbal explosion would be so harmonious. My last chapter's title became Stars. To be continued. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.